Hello, everybody. How's it going? And welcome to Ham Radio Live. This is episode 2, and we hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. As always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Kobe, a.k.a. Paul Lombardo. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I was playing a lot of games, editing your video today.
Ah, yes, you were.
That's my time. Yeah. And a cool little video coming out from Matt. Keep an eye out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, did a lot of schoolwork today, you know.
How I don't miss that. What'd you have to do?
I had to do a little bit of most of my schoolwork is all writing, so it's just like writing, but then I had to reach out to some sources for like a reporting project. I'm like, we have a every week we have reporting. We do like an article and we reach out to a source.
Right.
But I missed a week because I was in Canada. So he's like, okay, well, just on 1 week we don't have an article, so you can do it on that week. So I would have like this week off, but since I was absent, you know.
So welcome to the life of working in games. You always think you have some time off.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome everybody who's tuning in live over on youtube.com/MrMattyPlays. We go live every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to join us for the show, talk with us live in chat, you want to support the show with super chats or whatever, you can do it that way. Of course, afterwards, this gets archived on the same YouTube channel. Episodes go live for free to everyone Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We just aired episode 1 last Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't listen on YouTube or it's killing your data too much, I get that as someone who listens to podcasts. We are now officially available on every podcast platform that matters that you can listen to on the go. That's Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. They are all linked down below. So to support the show, if you're listening right now or you're listening afterwards, these will all be linked in the description. Just subscribe over there. Leave us a kind review. 5 stars would be much appreciated. We got to earn it, I know, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But that helps boost our show a little bit, get us going, get us moving fast. But to those of you who are early adopters, thank you so much. And if you want to call in right now, you can join via the Patreon over on patreon.com/MrMattyPlays. You'll join the Patreon Discord server. You can wait in the call-in waiting room around the time we start the show, and we'll pull in a couple of you before we begin. Now, with that, Paul, we got some very valuable feedback in our first week, I'd say.
We did. Lots of good feedback.
Exactly. So let's talk about that real quick, because I want to make sure people know that our first thing, I've been itching to do this episode, right? We talked about it so much, probably every day since we did it. Because when
we brought new things up every single day.
Exactly. Right when we ended the episode, you and I immediately got to like, what can we do to make it better? Because I think we walked out going like, yeah, we could have done better here. And the audience felt that we have a great idea here, but we need to shape it a little bit more. And really my philosophy here was, let's just dive into the deep end, right? Like, let's see what happens. Let's do this show. It's very dynamic. It's going to be very hard to nail down specifically what works. So we went in with just a ton of call-ins. It felt very scattered at certain points, and the feedback was valuable. So how are we going to make some changes here? We're going to change some of the call-in pacing. The only thing we asked from the audience is that we don't have these marathon calls. We did have a couple of those. We can't afford to do those. I think it ruins the pacing of our show, and that's our job to control that. The other thing is timestamps. Those have now been included. So those will be in every episode moving forward. This was just a personal oversight on my behalf. So thank you to the feedback from everyone in our first episode. We'll have that going from this point moving forward. Every section, every call-in. So if you don't want to listen to call-ins, you just want to listen to the news, you can skip to the news. Or if you just want to listen to call-ins, you can skip around for those. We'll specify what the call-in's about, all of that within the timestamps. So that'll be done. And ultimately, our format's going to be, we're going to open. We're going to do what we're playing, because a lot of the feedback, Paul, which I thought was pretty nice, was they want to hear a little bit more from us, right?
Right.
So thank you to everyone who wants to hear more of us. We appreciate that. But of course, this show it's different in its DNA. So we need to make sure that we're doing the live element. So we're going to do 2 call-ins after we talk about what games we're playing. We're going to do, of course, our news like we always do. That's going to be the majority of our show. There will be no call-ins during the news at all. We don't want to break that up. We don't want to disrupt that flow. And then at the end, just like we did with Ham Radio Podcast, it's all about patrons, all about your write-ins, and we're going to take a ton of call-ins. We'll tag the server again for anyone who maybe dipped out and was like, all right, we'll wait till they tag us again. We're going to remind them, hey, we're doing call-ins now if you want to hop in. We're also going to do write-ins. Last week, we sort of skipped over write-ins because we did too many call-ins. So we're going to go ahead with that format, and then we can expand as time goes on. That's what I wanted to do. Let's start off with 2 in the beginning, and we can work our way up if that's what the audience wants. But thank you again for your feedback. We've been really itching to do this episode. And so with that, Paul, anything you want to add? I've talked a lot before we talk about what we're playing.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for, like you said, thanks for the feedback. 99% of people were very nice. I'm glad people like having me on. I was pretty nervous about that, but it's nice to see that people want to hear more about me, and of course more about Matt and what we're doing in the gaming sphere. So yeah, like Matt said, we're gonna obviously the central focus of the show is going to be us, but this is different from ham radio, so we are gonna make sure we get those tap-ins in. So like if you don't want to, if you're listening post live and you don't want to listen to tap-ins, we'll have timestamps so you can literally skip, go straight to the news. And then at the end, if you're like, sure, I'll listen to a few, you can go ahead and do that. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
Absolutely. And yeah, we want to just make sure we keep, trimming the show and doing the right things based off your feedback. Well, you also don't want to be overly reactive. A big reason we did this was because on my personal front, I was just kind of repeating the same shit in other shows. And one of the dynamic elements of our show needs to be there. So that's why we're going to, of course, really emphasize the call-ins. Some people will fall off with that. That's kind of natural. We hope those who are giving us a shot here embrace us. But we've sat on this long enough. We just wanted to go ahead and respond to that criticism. Let's talk about what games we're playing, Paul. Right? Let's get into that. So you and I have a pretty interesting grab bag here of all different genres. I want you to go first because there's a game that you reviewed this week that I've been grilling you about. Go ahead. I'll let you do the introduction.
Okay, all right. So Matt has been up my ass over this, but I've been playing, or I played Hot Wheels and I reviewed it for Tech Raptor. And I think what I gave it a 7, right? But I was relatively negative in my review. I mean, IGN gave it a 10, and I was like, I'm sorry.
A 10 or a 9?
I think it was actually, was it?
No, it was a 9. It was a 9.
Okay.
10 was Deathloop.
Yeah, and I don't know. So like for me, when I was growing up, I loved Hot Wheels. Okay, I had like all the orange tracks in my room going all around. I also like Thomas the Train. I don't know. I just loved like I guess vehicles.
What was your favorite Thomas from Thomas the Tank Engine? What was your favorite? You have a?
I like Diesel.
Oh, I liked Henry. Green.
Because I was like so scared of it. That's the blue one, right? No, green.
Green, yeah. Green is Henry. I think. I don't know. It's been a while. I used to collect those steel cast ones. Holy crap.
I was always terrified of Diesel. I don't know if you remember. He's the one that has like the grabber on his back.
Yes.
There's a movie called like Thomas and the Secret Railroad or something. And dude, that's all I can remember from my childhood is that is like Thomas is like another like a girl train.
Okay.
I don't remember her name. But yeah, so Hot Wheels were a big thing in my childhood. So I kind of went into this. I was like, okay, I got to make sure that I don't let my little nostalgic connection get me. Because I also played Hot Wheels games as a kid. I can't remember their names, but I had like a few on my computer. Like those old CD, like you'd get CDs for like old computers and put them in. So, Hot Wheels, it's not bad. It's good, but I found it lacking in content, but more so with like the driving mechanics. I expected it to be more like Mario Kart. But the people who make this game, it was they make like real racing games and motorcycle games. What are they called? Milestone, I think. Okay. I could be wrong. I think that's wrong. I don't know. But anyway,
the chat can follow us up on that.
Yeah. So it just kind of felt too like they were trying to make it too realistic for Hot Wheels games, like Hot Wheels game.
Milestone, by the way. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I was right. So one of the people at Tech Raptor who was also reviewing it. They were reviewing it for something else, but they work at Tech Raptor too. We're talking. The cars feel really weighted, and it's just racing. Like there's no like power ups or anything. I don't know. I expected
it's a little surprising for Hot Wheels. Yeah, it's not arcade.
Yeah, I was expecting to be more like fun. Exactly. And then on top of that, to collect all the cars, it's all loot boxes. All loot boxes. There is a shop that you can buy cars from, but it's randomized every day. And it's not hard to collect the coins that you get. But they're also doing like a bunch of DLC packs, and I'm sure they're all going to be sold separately, like $2, $5, whatever a piece, for different brands. Like they had TMNT cars, Matt. So if you're interested in that,
I saw the van. Actually, I did see the van.
Yeah, and they have like Barbie and all kinds of Batman, I think.
Oh,
yeah. So it's cool. It's a good game. I gave it a 7, but it's just like I expected to be more arcadey, and going in, I wanted that. I mean, if I wanted like realistic Hot Wheels, I would play the Forza Hot Wheels They had a Hot Wheels deal. Yeah, they did. Like the
And
Forza
Lego, I think.
Horizon. Yeah, yeah. I would have gone and played that. So, and then there was like lacking. There's only like 6 maps, and I don't know. They have a
Yeah.
cool creator mode, which is interesting.
That
But
seemed to be the
things
thing
went
that
wrong.
got a lot of people, and like surprisingly, like
Yeah,
the track editor, the car editor, all that stuff.
yeah. You can really customize like how your car looks, and then the track editor is. That's where the game shines. That's where it's
Mm,
gonna have its longevity from because you can go pretty crazy with it. So. Yeah,
interesting.
the Hot was pretty fun, but seven out of 10.
7 out of
Better than
10.
Deathloop. I gave Deathloop a 6.5. So
We'll bounce out to the next game you're playing in a sec. I just want to talk a little bit about the game I've been playing mostly this week. You and I have been reviewing a separate game. We'll talk about that more in next week's episode. But for me, I have been playing mostly ActRaiser Renaissance. So ActRaiser is an SNES classic that came out in the 90s. I have been wanting to play this for a while. It's this god game side scroller. So you kind of manage a civilization at the same time as going through these different levels as pretty much God himself and cleansing darkness everywhere that plagues your good people. And I love that idea because it was very forward thinking back then. But I always thought to myself, well, maybe one day I'll own an SNES and I'll just pick it up that way. So they released this sort of remake remaster, if you will, of it. They shadow dropped it at the last Nintendo Direct. We talked about it a little bit in last week's episode, and I said I was going to pick it up and play it. I did. I think it was 30 or 40 bucks, but right now I'm really liking it. I've got about 10 hours in it. I've completed 2 of the civilizations. It's just such a clever game. I was talking to Mikey Dowling about it, who works at Obsidian, and I was just saying like how surprisingly good it is because they didn't really shake up a lot of the foundation from what I've researched of the game. I haven't played the original, but they didn't really disrupt what the game was. They've just added more story to why things are happening in the world. And some of them are a little touching. Like, I won't spoil anything for those who want to play it, but something like Bloodpool, I think is what the region is called, had a pretty interesting condensed arc that doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't try to pound you with text. But it was really nice learning about Zeppelin Wolf and his connection to Daniela, and I was like, wow, that's kind of surprising. So this is actually a game I've been enjoying a lot. One of the main reasons I like it is because of its God mode, where you're able to use the miracles. Like, you can bring rain, you can bring down lightning, and you can do all different things with your civilization that way. And they're very heavily scripted, mind you. But for example, to grow your civilization, you want to like take the lightning and just burn down places because they'll rebuild and people will come to help rebuild. And it's this very communal feeling. And I guess just given the events of the past week and change, it's been nice to have a game that's it's calm, it's enjoyable. It's just nice. Oh, the soundtrack, by the way, by I wish I knew his name. It was like Yuzo Satoshi. I want to say, I got to double check that, but absolutely killer soundtrack. I've been listening to, they have a Renaissance version and an original SNES version. I've been doing the SNES version. It's incredible. They sort of orchestrate that in the Renaissance version, so it's probably a little more appealing on the ears, where the SNES version's a little more loop the song, but I kind of dig that. I'm also a little bit more old school in that manner. But yeah, it's been a really good romp so far. It doesn't seem like it's too long of a game. There's like 5 to 7 regions, somewhere in that range, from what I checked from the trophies. And I'm just really, yes, thank you. Dave Portnoy wrote in, Yuzo Koshiro. Thank you. That's who the composer was. And excellent job. Apparently, he wrote on Twitter that the game was selling decently. So hopefully it continues to sell well, because this is a game that has needed its idea to be evolved upon for many years. You could already tell just from the outside looking in and playing it. I'm like, there's so much room here to make like a really cool 2D side scroller or Metroidvania game, and also a God game. It's just incredibly forward thinking for its time, and it's aged really well. It's got some snags here or there where it feels a little bit slower, like the waiting for your society to progress, and some of the battles early on with your civilizations are pretty slow until you start to be able to summon other heroes from different regions and set up mage towers and arrow towers and gate houses. Then you really like, it starts to become a very tactical game. It's surprising. It's just a little slow to evolve, but I've been playing that and I've been digging the fuck out of it. It's been really good.
yeah, when you were streaming it one night in our Discord, and
Oh yeah.
I didn't jump. I don't remember if I jumped in or not, but when I saw it at the direct, it looked really interesting. I think the thing that definitely caught my attention was like I guess the God mode, as you put it,
Hmm.
where you can like build, and I didn't know that like you could like cause destruction too.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like
That's really interesting.
agency in the level of you could ruin civilizations. That's where a sequel would be really cool because you probably could in a sequel. You would think that would make sense as a next step. There was actually, now that I think about it, there was apparently an ActRaiser 2, I want to say. Um, but with Renaissance, it's just a remake of the first one, and you're playing as God, so it makes sense. Like you're going to be a good guy at the end of the day. You're fighting against
Right.
this dark energy and that's polluting the lands and corrupting the people, and you're effectively. I love how well it's written in the sense that they're praying to you the whole time. So you're literally, like I said, you're functioning as God, and you don't actually intend on intervening until it's like feeling extremely necessary. And every arc is going to end up being that way, but just the way they handle it has been really good. So I've been digging it a lot lately. I do recommend it quite
Yeah,
a bit.
the soundtrack thing sounded cool too. Is it like seamless, or do you have to go to like the settings or title screen to like switch between like the orchestrated and then the
Yeah, you had to
original?
go in the settings. Yeah.
Okay, I figured, but I just like that when games provide that sort of thing.
Hmm. I,
Um,
I wish they did with the graphics too. Like we've been playing a little Diablo 2 Resurrected in our group, and you can go back and forth to what they call legacy mode, and like I love that you can just do that because we really haven't seen that much since like Master Chief Collection, and I just wish more games did it. I think ActRaiser Renaissance looks all right. It's like so low budget in the middle. It's like, okay, I get it. Like it's this very niche game. Like of course it's not going to look great. I almost wish they just brought back the modern or classic graphics rather and let you play in those because I think that would be a little better. But that's just my 2 cents on it.
yeah, I guess it's like it's not a remake, it's a remaster, right? Or is it a full
Yes.
on remake? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's weird that they took on like a totally different art direction for it.
Hmm. For sure.
Going back to the music thing, I wish games like Final Fantasy VII
Hmm.
remake. I wish they had
Oh,
something where you
that'd
could
be
like
cool.
switch back, right? Because
Yeah.
I was grinding the soundtrack on my way to school, and like I literally it went from the Aerith Church theme when the flowers are blooming or whatever,
Hmm.
and it went to the remake version. They're just totally different, but it makes sense because like you said, it just kind of loops, right?
Yeah.
Like back then, they probably didn't have as much. They'd have to account for file size, so like they probably loop songs more. But now they have
Yeah.
like these huge budgets, so they can orchestrate an entire song. And it's like it's crazy.
Yeah, if you listen to most songs, even if you look them up on YouTube, like you'll see the length of them are usually like a minute to 2 minutes compared to like 4 to 5 minute orchestrated pieces that we get. And not only that, but usually those 1 to 2 minute pieces are like a 30-second thing that just loops every 30
Yeah,
seconds. And
yeah,
so it's really effectively not even a minute or two, which is once again fine for its time period. Even like one of my favorite soundtracks in Danganronpa, like the Beautiful Dead, just kind of it loops
yeah.
like every
I,
minute and a half.
I was driving with my sister and her boyfriend to Wendy's last night,
Hmm.
and like I grind like video game soundtracks. I know you're the same way, like you
Yeah,
have your vinyls back there and stuff. But when you're like with other people, it's so like I don't want to say awkward because it's just like my music, but I always like wonder like, man, they probably think I'm just like grinding the same song, like looping it over and over. Because like if like say like Beneath the Mask comes on, it's like vocalized, but it's still kind of like
hmm,
it's like it's a loops, or like
yeah,
another Persona song like Heartbeat Heartbreak like
yeah. I know. Yeah,
but and Danganronpa as well. Yeah, so it's kind of funny how like video game music is just totally like different compared to when you're just listening to
yeah,
whatever else.
big time. See,
It's so good to study too though.
You've been playing a little Tales of Arise.
Yeah, I had to okay, so I'm enjoying Tales of Arise a lot. The story isn't grabbing me that much, but I like the characters.
Mm,
I like the characters. I just got Law,
yeah,
I think his name is. Um, and so far my favorite. I okay, so I might just be dumb, but can you switch between who you're playing as?
yeah. The game doesn't really tell you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I remember in the demo, I played as Shion.
Hmm.
I started playing as her, and I didn't really like it as much. But now when I started the game as I'll call him Iron Mask,
Hmm.
just for spoiler's sake. Um, yeah, he's way more fun. But I
Oh
just
yeah.
want to try out the mage girl.
Oh, Rinmo.
Forgot her name.
Yep.
Yes, I
Yeah.
want to play as her, but It's a lot of fun. It's very, very beautiful. I love how the art style for that game looks so good. Even like the anime models for the characters, like their faces, they kind of just look super high quality.
They put a lot of
But
money in that game.
yeah, but it still looks like fictitious. Like if I bring up Final Fantasy VII again, like that's an anime game, but there's like a influence of realism with how Cloud looks in his face and his hair. But with this game, they stick with more of the anime type look while also still making it look very high quality. Combat's really fun.
Yeah.
I had to turn the difficulty down because
really?
I was getting my cheeks clapped, man. It was bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what difficulty were you on?
I was on normal, so I went down to easy. But I think why? Because I think you just have. Is that a game where you have to grind? I don't know. I feel like
the balancing has been a little weird.
Yeah. So it's not that it was difficult. It's just that enemies were so spongy, and like it's basically for a whole boss battle. At least when I was on normal mode, it would be like, okay, just learn their patterns, which is really easy. It's not like a Dark Souls game where their patterns are insanely difficult. Learn their patterns and then just chip away at their health. And it kind of sucked because I was like, it basically is just don't mess up. That's what the boss battles were like for me. Don't like mess up evading them or something. So I bumped it down to easy mode so they weren't as spongy. It feels like they still do the same amount of damage to me, which is fine. They just have a lot less health. But I think if I grinded more, I could probably get away with going on normal mode. But I don't want to grind. I hate grind.
Yeah.
I don't know. Unless it's like an intelligent, really fun grind, not just wandering into a city so enemies respawn, going back out, killing enemies, going back in. That's like my first complaint so far with it. But other than that, it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, Lazy Worker 123 wrote saying Tales of Arise is essentially a game of attrition for 30 hours. Yeah, that's the thing that's really interesting. It's why I think some reviewers, I didn't do this and I still enjoyed it, but some reviewers like give it really, really, really high scores. And we were given the Ultimate Edition, which gave us a 20% XP boost, which would eliminate a lot of the grinding that had to be done. For me, I never felt I had to grind. I just did some side quests, but like it was really the combat was so fun. I never cared when I was getting thrown into it, but I get what you're saying where especially deeper in the game, it really will grind you down a little bit. And it's like, wow, this enemy is super spongy. It can be kind of a pain in the ass for sure.
Yeah, I'll probably end up sticking on easy mode. So,
all right,
because I don't want to grind. Like I don't know if it didn't have like that balancing. I guess I didn't even get an XP boost because I got my copy off eBay. I didn't get. It was new, but there was like they didn't have like any codes in there for whatever. And I got the standard edition.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So,
Easygoing Gaming wrote in, you guys take super chat questions. Yes, that's one thing that we definitely do take. Feel free whenever we're speaking to write in if it's topical and fire away. We're more than open to that, and we appreciate any support we get on our new show. In the meantime, though, that's about what we played, and I think it's time for us to get into the tap-ins now. So let's do our first one. First caller was Sean Mason, who was sitting in the waiting room. So we'll pull him in again.
Okay.
Are you hearing? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hey, how's it going again?
Loud and clear.
It's going well. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in a second time. We appreciate you, and it's great to talk to you 2 weeks in a row.
You're the first caller for the second time in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
All right, man. Fire away. What you got for us?
All right, so I got another little story with Sean Mason again.
Of course.
From the school
We
again.
love the Sean Mason stories here.
So this week was a little bit quieter up until yesterday. We get this email last period from our principal, and he's like, "Yo, we need a list of all students who went to the bathroom in period 4." And I'm like thinking, this is weird. So I send the email. I'm like, whatever. So, and then come to find out, I guess one of the boys' bathrooms was completely vandalized and destroyed.
Oh. Now, define vandalized. Are we talking shit on the wall, pee on the toilets? Like, what is vandalized?
Shit on the wall.
Okay.
Shit on the toilet. Soap dispensers destroyed.
Oh no.
Was there stuff stolen?
No. This is just, I guess. So apparently, this is a TikTok channel.
It's called a dubious lick.
Yes.
That's what they call it.
So they're doing that. So I send that email back, and it's all the kids already know what happened. all the kids already know.
Mm-hmm.
They start referring to it as the incident.
Wow.
So my question for you guys is, what is quote unquote the incident from your school?
Oh man,
I have a lot.
I have a good one right off the top of my head. It's funny enough; it has to do with the bathroom too. I remember with was it middle school? Yes, I remember it was like 100 degrees out, and we didn't have ACs in our school. And I was a psychopath who always wore jeans to school, but I never got hot in that manner because I never sweat, so it didn't matter to me. And I was like self-conscious about how skinny my legs were, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm wearing jeans," because I thought I looked best in those. But I remember like that was a day in particular that just felt oppressively hot, and everyone wanted to go home. And in our district, sometimes they would send us home early if it got too hot. But despite the crushing heat in the the early 2000s, mind you, so it's not even nearly as hot as it is now, they weren't going to send us home. So what happened, I was not a part of this, by the way. This was just passed on to me. The school orchestrated pretty much a mass toilet flushing. So I remember one of my friends went into the girls' bathroom, and apparently like there was like 8 girls just like lined up at all the toilets and all the urinals and stuff. Same thing with the men's bathroom, and this was across like the entire school. What happened was like they had everyone on speakerphone. They counted down. Everyone flushed at the same time. And I guess it backed our fucking sewage system up completely, and it flooded where they had to send us home. And it was a master plan to get us out of there. And we got out of there in like decent time. We got out there pretty like late morning, and it was awesome. We beat the heat and everything. So that was like the incident in our school. It never happened again. There was always like talk of like it happening again and later on, that generation carrying it to a new school. Never did though. But that was my incident for sure.
Mine is a very lengthy incident, one that covers over, I'd say like 2 weeks, my time in my high school. And it's kind of funny because this incident actually happened again this year at my old high school. So we had a certain someone was calling in bomb threats to my school.
Wow.
And yeah, so it would always be in my second period math class. I think it was pre-algebra or something. This might have been 9th grade. I can't remember, but we would have a bomb threat at like the same time every morning. And what would happen is everybody in the school would have to pick up, and we have to go walk to this place called the Boys and Girls Club, which is just like this. I guess it's like a place for kids who can't go home immediately after school or whatever. And all like what I'd say, I can't remember how many students were in my school. Probably like a few thousand kids would just be clumped up in this one field.
Wow.
Yeah, and it would be like our mascot was the Bobcats, so it would be like the bomb cats or whatever. And it was happening for like 2 weeks straight. We would just have bomb threats every day at the same time. We'd all have to get up and go, and parents would come like check us out. Some parents weren't sending their kids to school because they're like, well, it's going to be a bomb threat day, so we're not gonna send them. And then eventually it stopped for like 2 days, and I noticed that there was a kid missing in my French class for 2 days. And it turns out this kid was the one calling in bomb threats.
Oh my God.
And he was like he was paying some guy on like the deep web or something. It was pretty nuts.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess you wouldn't know, but holy shit.
I don't know, and I don't know what happened to him. I know he went under house arrest, and
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last I heard about him. But we had another bomb threat this year. My sister graduated last year, so she doesn't go to that high school anymore. But my mom is like friends with like other moms and stuff, and I guess they had like another bomb threat. So maybe it's coming back. But it's crazy because they would bring us all to this field and clump us up. And it's like, if someone really wanted to hurt us, now they know to go to that field and do whatever. But oh my God, it was so funny. Kids would be like, once we got to the field at the Boys and Girls Club, kids would dash for the fence and they'd like run and they'd get out of there. Teachers would chase them.
Wow.
There's this one girl, this teacher grabbed this girl's legs and she kicked him in the face and kept running, jumping over the fence.
Holy crap.
It was pretty nuts. It was a really
school
really
delinquents.
interesting time. Yeah, I mean, I I wanted to join them. I didn't want to sit around in this hot, muggy field. I live in Florida, so it's like
Yeah, right.
pretty nuts. Really humid. So that's my crazy high school story.
Excellent stories, I'd say, gents. Well, Sean,
Yeah.
we appreciate you calling in with such a wonderful story again. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
really appreciate it.
I plan to be back next week if you guys choose me.
Of
It's,
course.
totally up
I'm
to
sure
you.
maybe you'll
But-
probably be the first person since you'll probably join the server first.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys had a great first episode, and I can't wait to hear the rest.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care.
See ya.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how it's gonna rock. Just like that. That was nice and clean, simple and clean. Let's get tap in number 2 in here. Ukulele would be the next one.
That sounds familiar, Matt.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Hello.
Hello. Oh, she's on. These are the things. These are the yeah, right. When I hype up our show. All right, go ahead and bring her in now.
Okay. She's in.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. How's it going, stranger?
I'm a big fan of you, Mr. MattyPlays.
Yes.
Hope you're okay.
Oh, okay. All right, no, that's cool.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. My question is, I want to know what Matt's problem with Sonic games are.
Oh.
It really bugs me. It gives me a hard time, and I want to know how Kobe feels about the Sonic games as well.
Paul, you go first.
I mean, I don't have a rich, detailed history on Sonic. I played Sonic Heroes growing up, and that's about as far as it goes. I mean, Sonic Riders. I liked Sonic Riders, but I don't know. Never been a fan of the blue guy. I was always more of a Mario kid. Always more of a Mario kid. So I'd say I'm pretty indifferent to Sonic, but I'm really interested in hearing Matt just destroy Sonic, attack him, take him down.
Yes. Now I've given our audience a new thing to complain about. We've gone from a great structured show to now it's my Sonic hatred. All right. So here's the thing, ukulele. Sonic fans are in constant coping, and that's the problem. Is that they got handed one good game in the early 90s and they fucking ran with it. They literally ran a mile with it. They're like, Sonic Adventure is good. Everything after has a chance. It's impressive. It shows Sonic had some real staying power. So, as someone who played a little bit of Adventure, I've played Shadow the Hedgehog, which
Great game.
you get to use guns. And I just think as this series evolves, it becomes more and more of a meme, right? I played Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood on the DS. I've played Sonic Generations, Sonic Unleashed. I had the misfortune of playing this year. And I've played Sonic Forces as well. So I'm not just this no-name spouting hysteria over a franchise I don't like. I'd say I'm a Sonic vet to a certain extent. Now, admittedly, I haven't played Sonic Rush, Colors. I haven't played extensively Sonic Adventure 2.
You played Mania?
I did play Mania, actually. Thank you. Thank you for adding that to my
I played that too,
to
and
my
I
list.
forgot to mention it.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. But here's the thing, is number one, it's the design of Sonic that just doesn't work anymore. Back then, speed was impressive because what happened was you'd be like flying from one end of the screen to the other, and you're like, wow, I'm going so fast. You had a couple of pathways, and you'd be impressed with what a game could do then. As it transitioned into a new generation, what you started to see was that Sonic going fast required him to be on rails. And then if he was taken off rails, you got something like Unleashed, which I challenge anyone who's listening to the audience, because I know there are people who stand by Unleashed. Go back, play it again, and try and tell me it feels good to play. Okay? Try to tell me. The final boss was an insult. There are so many moments in that game that drove me up the wall. The Unleashed sections where he plays the werehog, like 30, 40 minutes at times. It's one of the worst paced games I think I've ever played. And that doesn't even get me into when you take it off the rails. And I'm sorry, I forgot to add one more to my list. I've played Sonic 06. Oh. Sonic 06, I actually just played for a video nonetheless, but I played it a lot when I was a kid. And again, it's what happens when Sonic is too fast now for the current generation of consoles. And to get him under control, you need to put him on rails. But if you put him on rails, then it betrays the series core. And it's just they need to go back to that adventure style, but I don't think they ever will because they have to slow him down for that. And if you turn Sonic into a 3D platformer, you get Unleashed, which I thought was a pretty divisive game. So ultimately with Sonic, I just think that this is a series that is, in my eyes, very dead in the water, and they just need to put it to rest. Let it be the kiddie franchise with the cool movies, bring out a game here and there. That's about it, though.
I want to add, you brought up some good points with Sonic, and I think one of the things that I actually had a problem when I played Mania, I love the music from Sonic. I think Sonic has great music.
It does. That's true. Yeah.
I love a lot of the art styles that some of the games adopt, especially like the older ones where it's more pixelated. But you're going so fast, and they create these kind of like interesting like side scrollers, and it's like I can't really explore because I'm trying to get to the end of the area as quick as possible, and you're going so quick, and there's so many different routes, but I feel like there's only one route where you can go as fast as possible, so it just betrays the idea of exploring. And I don't know, I actually, that's a good point that I think you brought to light.
Well, the other thing with Sonic is it's like a bad combo system in a game. Now, I wouldn't say this is a bad combo system, but it makes me think of like Devil May Cry 5, where in DMC 5, you had a combo system that was fucking sick, but I never felt very compelled to get into the core and the depth of it other than like, okay, cool, combat, yeah, like cool flashy combos. And I get there's something that's appealing to certain audiences with that, but to me it's like, well, I want to expose weaknesses. I want to know like what works best with what enemies, and I didn't find that there. And it's kind of like with Sonic and exploring levels, like, oh, you have a top path, a middle path, a bottom path, secret paths. I'm like, of course at the end of the day it's finishing the level quickly and finding what those secret paths are. But I just feel like it's almost pointless because you can get there very fast regardless. So it's at times for some people just about getting there the fastest, which to their credit, sure. Like you could find a hardcore fan of everything to spell away all of my critiques for literally every franchise ever existing. But I think with Sonic, it's the most easy to be like, hey, it's okay. It's not that good. But Ukulele, I just want to pass it to you real quick. How do you feel about some of my thoughts here?
I have some constructive criticism for your next podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe you should just like Sonic.
Yeah.
It'll improve your show a lot more.
We're going to take that criticism and we're banning Sonic Talk from this podcast ever. He will not
That's
be
okay. I'm going to disconnect myself from the Discord and the Patreon forever.
We've lost a paying customer.
No, I mean, I've always been a big Sonic fan. Like I run off of nostalgia personally. So for me, Sonic has been a big part of my life, and it'll never be something that I ever hate, except for the movie. That movie was not that good. But
right.
I guess Ham Radio Live will never be a big part of your
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I get it though. Sonic is Sonic stands for something for some people. I think it's just it's weird because it's like a bad icon. It's like Kanye West for video games. It's like, yeah, I recognize him. It kind of sucks now. At least that's how I think about it. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Ukulele. We appreciate you bringing the Sonic debate to life here. I know I went on a huge tangent before my Nintendo Direct reaction, so it's great to capture it here in an archived version.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Of course.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Okay.
All right.
And with that, we're done.
Yeah.
With our tap-ins.
Yep, for sure. So let's get into the news, Paul.
All right. Let's do it.
You want to set up our first one?
Yeah, sure. First up, we got a bunch of studio acquisitions. The first one is one probably many people are familiar with. Bluepoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's acquired by PlayStation, which was very predictable.
Yeah, they leaked it, right? And it shows how long these things take to come into place.
Oh, dude, I imagine they have to sign so much stuff, licenses, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one wasn't too surprising. What we want to do for everyone is let's lay out pretty much every acquisition that happened this week because there's just been a ton of them. We also had Fire Sprite, which happened early in September. The reason that's important to note is because then Fire Sprite acquired Fabric Games after, who were a bunch of Sony Liverpool devs who are best known for their work on Wipeout. And then Netflix got involved, and they're like, we're going to acquire Night School Studio, who worked on Oxenfree. So let's start off at the top, of course, Bluepoint being the most significant one and probably the most exciting one to talk about amongst all of these. So with Bluepoint, you've got Demon Souls Remake, which just came out at the end of last year to start off the new generation of consoles, PS5 exclusive, sold about 1.5, 1.4 million copies, which is pretty good for a brand new system. In my eyes, it's a decent attach rate there. But now they're apparently working on, and I put in quotes, original content after this acquisition, which would suggest that they're not doing possibly remakes or not. But I want to know, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think they're going to end up, when they say original content, are they walking away from their remake history and doing something on their own? What do you think they're doing?
No, I don't know. A lot of people were saying like, oh, we're gonna get Bloodborne 2, and like, I don't know. I don't know if FromSoft would really trust them to make their own game straight up outright. Like I know it's PlayStation, but like if they were gonna do Bloodborne, right? Bloodborne is owned by FromSoft, right? It's not PlayStation. PlayStation just published it, so I don't think we'll see that. But I think one thing we're bound to see is something with Demon Souls. Maybe it'll be like DLC, because the original content doesn't have to be a new game, unless it's exactly like. So we could see DLC for Demon Souls. There's still that little what do you call it? There's still another world that's like cracked in the game that even in the original game it was like destroyed. So maybe we'll see that. I would love to see some sort of I guess FromSoft type game from them, because their remake potential is so good. Bloodborne could be remade through them.
Yeah, honestly, you bring up a great point. For those who don't know and haven't played Demon Souls Remake, there was always from the original Demon Souls a in quotes sixth world that was on one of the stones that you could use to visit it, and it was cracked. And a lot of people had speculated like maybe FromSoft, or I'm sorry, not FromSoft, Bluepoint will bring that back in the remake, and they never did, of course. They kind of kept it very pure and original, and some folks are now speculating like, hey, what if they expanded and did the sixth world DLC launch for Demon Souls? That would have been really cool to see. But I wonder, because the rumor attached to them for a while was Metal Gear Solid Remake, but it seems like that's going to Virtuos, who we'll talk about later on in this show. If a couple reports are to be believed from Eurogamer and Video Game Chronicle, which have been pretty accurate in the past. And so them working on something original, I always found this interesting because with Bluepoint, it's like, obviously it's a natural evolution of content, right? They went from remasters to remakes, and now they want to do their own thing, and I understand and respect that, but it's actually kind of disappointing to hear that. Like, I'm sure that was sort of a pin in the balloon of a lot of PlayStation fans when they heard, like, hey, we got the studio who's doing really good remakes for us. It's like, yeah, and they're doing their own thing. It's like, that doesn't mean it's going to be bad, but I'm of the mindset that it'd be much better for them to put them on something along the lines of remaking an old franchise. Like, I'm a little biased here, but like Sly Cooper, I mean, putting them on something like that, that'd be incredible. There's so many franchises there, and it also would give PlayStation a great step ahead of Xbox that currently Xbox doesn't have an answer for, and I don't know if they ever will, which is just the remake remaster department saying, like, we got Bluepoint, and while we have all these new things being made like Horizon Forbidden West, which is like a PlayStation 4 generation IP, we're also going back into our nostalgia, and we're digging out old franchises through Bluepoint. And I think if they abandon that, it sort of defeats the purpose of why people wanted Bluepoint around in the first place, and much rather had them around in second-party capacity.
Also, just going back a little bit, some people were saying in chat, David and Jose, that Bloodborne is Sony owned, and I just like double checked on the internet. So yeah,
sure.
So Sony owns the IP of Bloodborne, so actually we could see that being remade, and I think that's probably one of the more likely ones because of how much fan demand there is for Bloodborne 60 frames. I know Sony has had to have heard it. So yeah, I think that's probably what we'll end up seeing from them. But like you said, new content. They said original content. And I guess Bloodborne wouldn't be original unless they made it Bloodborne 2.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, is original new IP or is original from the ground up? Because then you could argue even Demon Souls Remake, like that was from the ground up. That could be original. It's a remake. Like a remake is effectively an original game. It's if you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, like that is an original game. There's so many things that are different in that. And I imagine KOTOR Remake is going to be an original game because it's going to be very different. So necessarily remake doesn't suggest not, original content doesn't suggest not remake, but it's possible.
Feel as if when they come out and they say original content, I think they're talking about something that isn't a remake, because why else would they mention that?
That's true.
Right? Like I feel as if there's no reason to mention we're making original content if it isn't going to be something that isn't differentiated from what they've already put through Sony. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see both either Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne remake, or something wild card like Sly Cooper, or
Yeah.
Ape Escape.
Ape Escape. Hey, why not,
Ape
right?
Escape, dude. I would love some Ape Escape. Oh man,
See, that's the thing, though, right? Like, as you and I are talking, we both just picked out 2 franchises that they could have gone for, among many others that I'm sure were much more popular. But that was the reason people wanted them around. So I get a little nervous for PlayStation on that front. Not that it was a bad acquisition by any means. Certainly it was earned, and I think it was a smart call. But now you have an access to a thing that's going to be major moving forward. Remakes and remasters are only going to increase because people are starting to miss things. We have a new generation coming in that wants to experience the things people like myself and others are talking about. And so the remake remasters are answers to that. Ports forward are answers to that. And PlayStation has their hands in Aspire's pockets. Now they got their hands in Bluepoint's pockets. And I think they should make smart use of how Bluepoint built themselves. But also, I have to play devil's advocate myself. In all fairness, they've earned their right to make the games that they want to make. So I understand why they're doing original content, but I find it a little disappointing. I'll be honest.
I'm in the same basket as you. I think as a developer, you probably want to be working on what you want to work on without having someone overhead saying like, do this, and that. But at the same time, I also think, like you said, a new generation of gamers, people are coming into games. I think it's important to bring some of these old titles, especially ones that aren't accessible unless you're emulating them, back to life through remakes because I don't know, it's important, and we've seen amazing work with remakes like Final Fantasy VII remake, like with Demon Souls. I love Demon Souls. I never would have played the original. I platinumed the new one. So I think having a dedicated team for that is important. And like today, I don't think Xbox has something similar as far as I know. You're the Xbox guys. So.
Yeah, no, they don't have
have
any
a remake
answer.
team.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
like their definitive edition for Gears, for example, I believe that was all Coalition. Like they have to do it internally, and that's why I always talk about them letting Aspire kind of slip through the cracks was stupid with KOTOR remake, because even though it was a timed exclusive for PlayStation 5, that's your chance to foster a relationship with a company and get that studio that's your answer to remakes and remasters. Not that there aren't other ones out there, but there's very few trusted ones, very capable ones, and there's a reason why they're being roped in. There's a developer beneath, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember who it was. They worked on the port for The Witcher 3 on Switch, and I can't remember their name right now. Not Hot Button or Press Button. That's a different one. Or Panic Button. They did Doom, which was also pretty good. But this is another developer.
For the Switch?
Yeah, they did that as a co-development effort with CD Projekt Red, but most of the work went to this port studio. And they're beneath the team that did World War Z. Why is the name evading me right now? Do you mind looking that up? But in the meantime, there's a reason why they're getting all roped in. It's because going forward in the next half a decade, especially as gaming becomes more and more digitized and you're seeing less physical releases and more of a detachment from what built it, people are going to kind of kick and scream, and you got to have these remakes and those nostalgia grabs to remind people of the things that they loved about gaming. Panic Button, someone wrote, Jose Contreras. Thank you, Jose. That was the one I was thinking of. I believe they are the ones who did The Witcher 3 on Switch.
Yeah, you said that was an amazing port. I
don't touch extremely good.
I don't touch ports on the Switch because I can't handle 30 frames, and then even on the Switch, it's 30 frames and then it's watered down. I just would rather I play my Switch physically in front in front of my TV all the time, so there's no point. I'd rather just get a game on my PC or my other console. Yeah. But it's still amazing that they were able to get a game like that on the Switch alone. So if a developer can do that, then they're talented enough to get it running stably.
Saber Interactive was it, by the way. I couldn't remember for the life of me. Saber Interactive. That's who it was. Thank you so much, Salt, for writing that in. This is why the live chat's great while we're doing this show, because there's certain things that I'll forget and I'll have to pause, look it up in our original show. This is a lot better for me personally, and I think for the audience, so they have all the information available in one show. The next one, though, was Fabric Games. This one a little bit more, I don't want to say minimal, but it's completing talent that I find interesting. So Sony Liverpool was shut down in 2012, and Now that studio went and became Fabric Games, and they're coming back to PlayStation through a studio that PlayStation acquired in early September. So it's like a chain acquisition. And now they effectively have Liverpool back, who, as I said, was best known for their work on Wipeout. I have less to say on this one personally, but I just thought it was an interesting chain of events. And really what's, to me, more to speak about here is like PlayStation spending a lot.
Yeah, they got that. What Fire Sprite was a VR game. Like they did VR stuff, right? Like I think it was Astro's Bot Adventure or something. And I guess we're going to be seeing the next generation VR hardware from PlayStation soon. I know that was a thing they talked about back in February. I think you can use the PlayStation VR now on your PS5, but I know they're making a new one. So I guess that's an acquisition that sort of puts them in a position where once that comes out, they can have a game ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, which makes sense. They have the most successful VR platform, so they should continue to invest in that because it's the most accessible one at the price tag. And well, it looks like you're viewing it through stained glass. It's a good way to experience VR. Like my first time on VR was PSVR with the Batman Arkham VR, and I remember like I don't remember the last game demo I walked out of that jacked up, but that was the one where I was like, yo, it was sick. Really dug that one. So,
I mean, the new hardware for like PS5 and Xbox are really far ahead. I mean, my computer is like, when I had my computer on my PS4, my computer was way better, but now I need to upgrade my computer to match with my PS5. And I was able to run VR on my computer fine with like toned down graphics and stuff.
Right.
So maybe PSVR will be like a lot better on the PS5.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting to see. Last acquisition we're going to hit up here is Netflix. They acquired Night School Studio. As I said earlier, they got Oxenfree under their belt. Oxenfree 2 is in development now. They also did After Party. This one I thought was really interesting because you're seeing a lot of companies spending. And I was talking to Jeff Grubb about this on Defining Duke, and he was saying it's because of inflation, and next year money is going to be valued less. So a lot of companies are spending now because it's valued more, and they're effectively losing money if they don't spend it now. And Microsoft's sitting on a lot of money, like billions of dollars. We're probably going to see them start spending that on Game Pass deals, and I would imagine acquisitions eventually. They've been quiet for too long on that front, in my personal opinion. But now Netflix is even spending, which I think just solidifies what Grubb told me. And so I look at this as not only obvious spending from the front of like, okay, they had to make sure they were using the money at its most valuable point for their company, but this is Netflix's way of entering the games industry and saying like, hey, we've got this one in the bag right now, and we're going to start really taking this seriously. What's your trust level with Netflix?
So in terms of video games, what did they've done nothing except for they put Minecraft story mode on Netflix, which honestly, I kind of dig it. That was Telltale, right? So they put like a game that many people sort of regard as something you can really just sit back and watch on Netflix, and it introduces like a huge amount of people who use Netflix and don't game to video games. So I don't know. I like it. I don't know. I'm assuming based on what they said, based on what Night School Studio said, Netflix is gonna be pretty hands off and just let them develop what they want to develop.
Right.
Except it's going on Netflix, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know.
That's the weird thing about it. Like, am I gonna have to launch Netflix on my PS5 to play Oxenfree 2, or like what? So that'll be interesting. I don't know. I trust that Netflix knows that they don't really know a lot about games, so they're gonna let Night School Studio do their thing and make the games they're gonna make. I don't think their games will be any worse. I'm just more concerned like how I'm gonna be playing them. Maybe Netflix will introduce like a higher subscription model for video games. Like we know Nintendo's doing that with the Nintendo 64 emulation and the Sega Genesis. So maybe Netflix is gonna bump up prices for people who want to play games on Netflix. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it's really interesting and cool.
I really do too, because I think if you look at like the trifecta of companies of like Netflix, Google, and Amazon entering games, it's like, all right, Netflix probably gets the most benefit of the doubt from me personally. I look at it as this way. Like you're seeing them strike up these great deals with companies like CD Projekt Red, where they're getting something like the Cyberpunk anime, or of course The Witcher. The Castlevania anime is really popular now. and many more examples that I can't think of off the top of my head. And they're probably looking at how many subscribers are getting through that and going, wow, gaming's really booming right now. And it's going to continue to boom as like cloud-based stuff becomes more accessible and more people are playing video games over time. Of course, as we spent a lot of time locked in our houses through the pandemic, like, yeah, gaming was the interest in it was generated again for some people. So I think they're getting in at the right time. And they're probably looking at it saying, well, Steam just saw 150,000 plus players over on The Witcher 3 after our show launched. Why did they leave Netflix? Why didn't they stay on Netflix? How can we get them to stay on Netflix? And imagine if you finish that episode of The Witcher and it has like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is like a little box that you can fire up. Like, did you like the show? You could play the game and it streams right there. I think that's the play.
I was going to say, when we're shifting to like streaming, like, Xbox's streaming service, and maybe that's what Netflix is like trying to shifting into, like streaming that like bigger games on their. That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about like watching The Witcher and then you can play it right there.
Yeah, I can see that working really well.
Sort of like blending these libraries of games and shows, like more of a media conglomerate for anything. I think that's a good choice for Netflix. A good move for sure.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting for them is they're probably the only one who can get away with it. If Xbox started going back to TV and movies and trying to connect the two, we already know how that would be received. And so Netflix can kind of get away with like, well, you trust us with TV and movies, and now we're going to start like not blending them effectively in stories, but we're going to start like mixing these up a little bit where you might see us working with CD Projekt Red on something. You might see us working with Konami on something. And I think that's really cool. And we'll be talking about Castlevania as well, where it's like, hey, get that on your service, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. So it'll be interesting to see how they invest in it. But a lot of acquisitions are happening. Companies are spending. Gotta wonder when Xbox is going to make their move. It's got to be. I wonder if they're going to do it this year or if they're just kind of happy with where they're at.
Wasn't there a Cyberpunk anime?
Yes,
too?
yes.
Was that on?
That's
Netflix?
on Netflix. Yeah. Edge
So,
Runner,
yeah.
I think is what it's called.
So that's another example. Just like jump straight into Cyberpunk 2077 after you watch the anime.
Yes, and Cyberpunk would probably want that right now, right? They want more people playing their game.
For sure.
I just got some super chats, and then we'll get into our next bit of news here. We'll talk about Xbox. First super chat comes from Vancouver. Matty, Halo Big Team Battle is incredible, bro. Also, they finally bought Bluepoint. Yeah, I know, right? Let's see here. RDX, Son of Fett, writes in, Gaz video about sacred symbols is gold. Didn't see it, but I imagine it's about what happened recently with that video that was misquoted. Easygoing Gaming, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. What is the Nickelback of video games? A game that everyone pretends to be too cool for, but secretly loves. Not sure this qualifies as topical.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Not the new one, but the older ones, because I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of the new ones.
I'm with you on that one. That's a really good answer. Thank you, Easygoing, for that. Alex with another super chat. Square Enix seems to be like putting their games that aren't doing so hot, like Avengers, on Game Pass. Yeah, but it's interesting because like Octopath Traveler did really well. That sold like 2 million copies, and they put that on Game Pass. Sometimes it is just growth and extending how much you can monetize your game before putting microtransactions in it, of course. And then Dova Budgie 100 with a hell of a super chat here. Maddie, can I get a Jonathan Testicles? Thank you. Well, there you have it. Of course, we love to break up our news for things like that. Thank you to those who super chat and support the show live while we do this on YouTube. But let's get into the rest of the news that we have here. Xbox. So they had themselves a busy week as well. This was a surprisingly loud week, Kopi. And first things first, we've got Avengers, Scarlet Nexus, the Somnium Files, Mighty Goose also being added to Xbox Game Pass this week. Then we have Todd Howard confirming over 150,000 lines of dialogue in Starfield, which puts it above Fallout 4 at 110,000. We don't know the exact amount for Cyberpunk, but they said it was over 100,000. So I imagine if it was over, say, 150,000, they would have specified by now. And there's a lot to talk about both these topics, so I'm leaving it in your hands where you want to go with this, whether it be Starfield first or the Game Pass deals first. How are you feeling about what Xbox is doing?
Well, I watched your video on the lines of dialogue thing, and I'm kind of with you. I really, really, really hope they stay away from having a voice protagonist because, like, I don't know. I was when I was editing your video today, might be a little bit of Fallout stuff in there. And I was going over some Fallout 4, and it's like, Man, this is just so much. I do not like having a voice protagonist, and they did a great job, right? Brian T. Delaney and Courtney Taylor, they did amazing jobs with the voices. It's just like it doesn't fit. So
Yeah.
I don't think that massive jump in dialogue means that we have a voice protagonist, because like you said, Todd came out and said that it shouldn't be something we do in the future. It's an experiment, and I think giving developers room to experiment is how we get amazing things. So. Yeah, I hope it's more about branching branching storylines and overall just more content in the game and less about a voice protagonist.
Yeah.
But looking at Cyberpunk 27 and Fallout 4, if Starfield has over 50,000 more lines in those games, that's pretty nuts. And is that like a working number, or is that what it's... Yeah, exactly. So
because they're saying over, so it could be 160 or 70,000 by the time the game's done. Who knows? And of course, they're saying lines of dialogue, so that's not accounting for lore. Like if you open your journal, what's written there? There's a lot there.
Like notes you come across and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what's interesting about all of this is I am so for this if it's exactly what we're hoping for. I saw a writer, I won't name them, quote tweet a news article from a website saying like, oh, breaking, more words is bad because they said Starfield has 150,000 lines of dialogue. Is that a good thing? And number one is I remember reading this blog post that was also in that article from Josh Sawyer, who did a lot of the narrative direction for New Vegas, and he's done Pillars of Eternity, and I think he's once again just an RPG wizard. And he was talking about how in Pillars of Eternity they didn't have a lot of editing passes to trim down that word count, and overall that's really important. And to see writers already openly trying to ignore what could be a potential concern beyond what you and I are even talking about, I found a little bit frustrating. But when it comes to Starfield and maybe having a voice protagonist, yeah, you mentioned how they have like tens of thousands of lines of dialogue more. And the reason that Fallout 4 and Cyberpunk's lines were so high, I think, is because for everything that was said, your character was saying something back, at least in 4 different ways. And while that's good for some, I just hope it's what we're crossing our fingers for, which is like there's just a ton of alien races. There's a ton of different ways stories can go. And so maybe in your playthrough, when you finish the game, you'll see like 70,000 because the other like 80 are in another playthrough based off different choices you make. That's what I'm really crossing my fingers for. I don't want to act like I'm nervous or fearmonger anyone, but I do think it's, as someone who studies Bethesda closely, and then you look at the word counts for their previous game and then Cyberpunk, it's worth talking about that. Oh God, I hope they didn't do it again. Like I hope they're not going back to the voice protagonist again.
It's just a small thing too. Like if I go play Fallout 3 and I'm answering someone's dialogue, when they respond immediately. I feel like I am the player. When I'm picking someone's dialogue and then they speak, it feels like I'm directing someone else. So in an RPG, when you're supposed to be role playing, it just kind of feels weird.
Yeah.
You know? And there's absolutely a place for voice protagonist games with dialogue options. I just think Fallout and games like it aren't that place.
I agree. And I think for those who are wondering why we don't want it, it's good to clarify that the way I look at Starfield is this is your chance to show people you can still make role-playing games. And not that you can't make one with voice protagonists. It's entirely possible. I look at something like The Witcher 3 where they did account for some of your choices and in meaningful ways, especially in its expansions from what I've seen and what I've played to some extent, which is always encouraging. But that was also CD Projekt Red in a golden era, I would say, effectively. But with Bethesda, it's like now we've seen what happens when you've done voice protagonists. Like you've done a good job. Even Fallout 3, some people rightfully criticize its kind of morality compass based decisions of good or bad. There's really no in between, where New Vegas was great because it's very morally gray at times and there's a lot more skill checks. But even then, Fallout 3 showed like, hey, here's how we can do good choice and consequence. And really we haven't seen that since. Skyrim was the exception because it was so big and unlike anything we'd ever seen before at its time that it didn't matter, I don't think. And then Fallout 4 tried to evolve Skyrim instead of evolving what Fallout 3 did. And that's where I think they got caught. Yes, New Vegas would probably be the better. Because we talked about this off call or off the show, but like just the way that Fallout New Vegas should be the open world template and how we saw Bethesda effectively try that with Fallout 4. and they kind of came up short. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they go with Starfield.
Yeah, just going back to what you said about The Witcher, I think it's also important to note that like in The Witcher, you're playing as the Witcher, you're playing as Geralt of Rivia, and like in a game like Fallout or The Elder Scrolls or whatever, you're inserting yourself into a faceless protagonist that you customize and develop to fit what you think they should be. So that just adds more to my point of not wanting a voice protagonist. But yeah, with Skyrim, it's something like when I play Skyrim, I never even consider like choice and consequence just because of how good it is. I guess like
the gameplay builds
original.
really is what the choice is, in my opinion.
The world and the music, it's just like it just takes me away from even needing choice and consequence, I guess.
Yeah, it's masterful. I am in complete agreement with you. Ben Dover just wrote in real quick with a super chat. When looking at Starfield's dialogue, I'm hoping since it's a new IP, much of those lines will be for world building and universe/lore establishment, which is true. In that first entry, you're typically going to see more because they need to tell the player things that maybe aren't assumed to be known or hidden in booklets and, like you said, notes, terminals, all that stuff. So thank you, Ben, for supporting the show and writing that in. But let's talk a little bit about Game Pass as well. So we saw 3 really significant ones this week in Avengers, Scarlet Nexus, and The Somnium Files. How are you feeling about any of these? Are you going to download and try any of these?
Dude, I'm going to boot my console up right now. I'm not going to play Halo. I'm just going to boot up Marvel Avengers and grind that.
Oh, yes.
No, I'm not. Dude, I don't care about Avengers. All right. Like someone said earlier, it's probably them just throwing like something that didn't perform well onto there. But Scarlet Nexus is what I'm interested in because I was sort of interested in it, and I didn't end up getting it, not because I didn't want to give them my money, but because I didn't want to invest my time into it when I have like a bunch of other games I'm playing. So Scarlet Nexus is one, and I know you love The Somnium Files, and I love Danganronpa. There's Danganronpa writers on that game. I've heard some of the music from The Somnium Files.
Oh my God.
Good. It's there.
Yeah.
So that one absolutely has my attention.
Yeah.
To be playing that game late at night, laying in bed, nice murder mystery. I love murder mysteries.
Same.
Shit. No.
Same, man. It just gets me every time. And I think The Somnium Files has one of the more wild ones where it doesn't feel so out there with the universe it's set in, even though it gets a little crazy at times. But The Somnium Files, super niche game. I'm so happy to see Xbox supporting it. I hope they continue to go for more of these. Like, I would love to see Danganronpa on Xbox finally.
Oh my God!
I've been crusading for COG on Defining Duke to play Danganronpa. He's like, I'll play it when it comes to Game Pass, Matty. I'm like, all right, see you when you see it then. But like, The Somnium Files, like now next week I'm gonna get on them. I'm gonna be like, yo, you gotta play this now if you're gonna wait.
I was gonna say like it's really good for people who most people probably haven't even heard of this game. It kind of introduces them to that. Like, does Game Pass have other visual novel type games?
This is the first I can think of. That's what's kind of significant about it. And even if it's 100% the best one, because I think you and I have our ear to the ground on these sort of like niche Japanese games because it's just like our taste, our appeal. And is definitely one of them. And it's exceptional. It tells a really impactful story with its characters too. Like it's the way they kind of like conceal everything and slowly unveil it's intelligently done, really. And there's like one character twist that I don't want to spoil for anyone, including you, that I hope that that folks play and get to experience because I think it's really touching, I'll say. But
David Portnoy said they should get 13 Sentinels on Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
That's a game I booted up, and because of how disjointed the storytelling was, I haven't really finished it. But one of our friends never loves it. So
yeah, I feel like hopefully this is the
more
start.
Titles.
Yeah, that's what exactly. Yeah,
it's good for the devs, like that exposure, right? A new audience, and then when they do eventually make their game, they can sell way more copies or even get on Game Pass again. I mean, I have no clue how much money Xbox is throwing at these devs to put their games on Game Pass, but I have to imagine it's a hefty chunk of cash, enough to make up for the lost sales.
Yeah, and what's interesting with The Somnium Files, probably the reason they have that on there now is because the sequel is going to be on Xbox, so that would make a lot more sense for Xbox fans, whereas something like 13 Sentinels doesn't have something coming up, so maybe there's not a hustle to put the game on Game Pass when they have so much there already. It's really interesting to watch Xbox sort of like try to make sure they make up ground in Japan at the same time as not doing too much. But
Do you think this means we're getting Project Triangle on Game Pass?
oh, that's a really good question.
I would love that. I'd throw my Switch away and start playing it on there because imagine that game in 4K. Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's oh my god, dude. Yeah, Project Triangle is. We're gonna call it the placeholder, even though it's just Triangle Strategy now, right? Like I love how they threw away one word. I was like, certainly they're not gonna call it Triangle Strategy. I think you and I talked about that. Like when was it last year? It was revealed, and we were just like, no, or maybe it was earlier this year. I don't remember. But point being is,
Well,
no, it was
if you
earlier this year.
remember, Octopath was originally called Project Octopath.
Right, and that's what we were talking about. We were saying like,
I love this though. Like this, I love how they're like these games. Like you got Octopath, you got Triangle. Like just give me more, please.
At least
they know what they're
Octopath
doing,
made
bro.
sense, right? Like Triangle Strategy just sounds horrible.
yeah. I mean, I guess the triangle is because like there's like the three. What is it? Like there's the three kingdoms, and they're like the salt people, the water people, the something.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense, but it's like, what a name, man.
Yeah,
Like
at least Octopath, like you could pick up the box, you see Octo 8, and then you see 8 characters. You're like, okay, I get that. But Triangle Strategy is gonna be like, it sounds like a Fire Emblem spinoff, and maybe they're going for that. I don't know. But to your question, I mean, my guess is like they'll eventually bring that game to PC, like they did Octopath to PC. And I think when they do that, maybe the deal that Xbox will try to put in place is like, hey, bring it to consoles too, and we'll pay for it, and we'll have it on Game Pass first and get more eyes on it, just like we did with Octopath Traveler. And I think that'll be good, because seeing Octopath on Xbox, like I was playing it the other night, and just it's incredible. Like it's just like, wow,
so good, man.
It's here. That's amazing to see. And it's one of those things, like I call it the Persona 4 effect, where I remember playing that in 60 FPS last year and going, I don't think this needs 60, but oh my god, it looks great in 60. It just looks
so much nicer to see, man. Like
yeah.
I love 60 frames. I'm of the mindset, if you've played like 30 frames for most of your life, like when I was growing up, I was always playing games at 30 frames pretty much because like, you know, older consoles and stuff. There were some 60 frames games here and there, but like when you make that jump, and then even if you go further to 144, it is so hard to go back. It just, you feel like to me, it feels like the game is like, obviously it's performing less, but the experience is hampered. Because of how different 60 to 30 is.
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
nuts. Like I can't play Bloodborne.
You know how much I love Astral Chain, and it's really hard for me to go back to that game because it just does not play smoothly enough, in my opinion. Even when I dock it, it just doesn't feel right. And Platinum games need to be at 60, and that's what's sort of killed the Switch for me. Is I used to be very much like tolerant of 60, but once we entered a new gen and everything has been in 60, like I remember even when I was reviewing Tales of Arise, like it sort of clicked in my head. I'm like, it's really nice that this is in 60 too. Like you don't think JRPG is 60, even if it's action RPG and it makes sense. Like I just don't expect it, but now it's becoming that expectation, and Nintendo's sort of falling behind on that a little bit.
We're gonna get into that, right? The fork, we got that up next on the news thing because I want to talk about.
Yeah, we just have the Spider-Man news, and then we'll and then we'll bounce right into Nintendo. So Spider-Man 1 should be really quick anyway. I just thought it was really interesting that they confirmed that there will be a darker tone in Spider-Man 2. This comes from Insomniac. The article is on GameInformer.com, where they say they may be taking notes from another Disney-owned property and becoming the dark chapter in Insomniac's web-slinging story. In a short segment on the newest This Week in Marvel podcast, hosts Ryan Panagos and Lorraine Sink chat with Vice President of Creative at Marvel Games, Bill Roseman. Roseman discussed some of his favorite moments from the Marvel game announcements at the Sony showcase a few weeks ago. While discussing Spider-Man 2, Roseman offered some details on what players can expect, but still leaving us guessing on key aspects of the reveal trailer for a bit longer. He confirms there have been some changes to both the suits worn by Peter and Miles, and that they'll be facing off against multiple foes. We know of Venom, who was teased in the first Spider-Man and revealed in the trailer, but another mysterious voice is featured just before the symbiote appears. We think it's Kraven the Hunter. However, Roseman only confirms that's a voice of a character who is in the game. What's most exciting from the interview is this little morsel of info Roseman freely drops near the end of the interview. If the first Spider-Man was Star Wars, Spider-Man 2 is kind of our empire. It gets a little darker. Peter Parker and Miles Morales have certainly had their share of adversity in the separate PlayStation adventures, but invoking the Empire Strikes Back certainly ties some implications to the sequel. So I thought that this was really interesting because I thought the first one for Spider-Man kind of got surprisingly dark by the end.
I was just going to say that, like, it was not even like towards the end, like kind of halfway through, I won't spoil it, but there was like some darker moments in that game. So I guess with the introduction of like a character like Venom, right? I can totally see how it could get even darker. But I just hope they don't go too dark. It's still Spider-Man.
Oh, really? You
It's
don't
still
want them to go
equipped.
too dark?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like there's a certain level of like getting to like that darker side where it can get like sort of like edgy. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but it's just like stick to what you're good at. I do want to see some more like heavier tones and some darker themes. I just want to get too dark. Let's just keep it like Spider-Man.
No, I
So
respect that take because I'm of the mindset that while I get tired of everything trying to be dark, it's because a lot of developers like mishandle it and they fall in the cliche pitfalls where I'm like, go for it. I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, Spider-Man and it's dark. How dark are you going to go with Spider-Man? Especially
Right.
with, you said perfectly, a Venom like villain, a villain like Venom. Sorry, that's a villain that's not afraid to kill whatsoever. And that's
or
not
worse, like it's pretty nuts what Venom does.
yeah, right. Yeah, and then imagine if they one day like bring in Carnage. It's like if they're
Oh,
going to go
God.
dark, you need Carnage. Like you just
They're gonna have like at the end of the game, he's gonna be in the credits.
yeah, he's got to.
He's got to be, dude.
Yeah, because like
Um,
that's the trifecta, like Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage. Like you need them in a video game,
Right. But like Wolverine, like
Mhm.
that's got to be dark. It's gonna be darker than Spider-Man. What was the Wolverine game we were talking about last week?
X-Men
Uh,
Origins Wolverine.
That game is. One thing I remember from that game is Wolverine picking a guy up and holding him up to a helicopter blade and his head getting chopped off.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah, so those games, that's a dark game. I would love to see that get really dark.
Yes.
Like, and I want to give them the Spider-Man devs the opportunity to go in and make it dark. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying I don't want to see it get mishandled, like you pointed out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see in due time. I just thought it was like a quick, interesting talking point. We'll get into what I think is the more major piece of news here, which has to do with Nintendo. So you want to take this one away because I know you're pretty excited about this.
Yeah, I was planning on making a video on this, and I did like a news piece for class. This is just
Cool.
random. Someone asked me earlier in the chat, and I didn't get a chance to say what I do in school. I'm studying journalism. So, but anyway, I did for like my weekly news article. I did something on the Nintendo Switch. So Bloomberg came out like last year, and they reported on the Nintendo Switch 4K being a thing. Everybody was hyped for it, and then Nintendo came out with the OLED with no 4K support. And then Nintendo came out with a tweet responding to Bloomberg, which is a little weird, out of character for Nintendo. And they're like, yeah, this report's false. We have no plans for making a 4K Switch model. And then it happened again. Bloomberg came out and reported that 4K Switch development kits are going out to 11 different developers. 11 different developers have them already. And yeah, they reported on that. Nintendo came out and said that report's wrong. But the interesting thing here is one of the developers. Here, let me pull up the article because I can't remember the name of them. Zynga. They actually came out and they said, yeah, Bloomberg is wrong.
Everyone's lying. You know everyone's lying.
Yeah, I know. It's really weird. But it's also like, it sucks for Bloomberg because this is like diminishing their credibility when it comes to this specific story and this development. But at the same time, it's also like everything they're saying makes a lot of sense. Like apparently the OLED, according to Bloomberg, was supposed to have, apparently the 4K Switch was supposed to have an OLED screen, and they just took that feature and they put it on normal Switches, and they're selling it this season, and they're going to push the Switch back for next season. One, to make more money, right? People buy the OLED and then they buy the 4K Switch. But also because of component shortages. Like, you know how hard it is to get a console nowadays. The newer consoles. I just got another PS5 today. I got lucky. My uncle wanted one, so I was like, I've been scouting out Best Buy, and I finally got one. But yeah, I think everything Bloomberg says makes sense, but it just sucks that they're just getting like, no, fuck you, that's not right.
Yeah.
It really sucks for Bloomberg. Like,
yeah,
I believe them. I do. I think they're telling the truth.
I was gonna say I do too, because what they were clearly doing here, obviously I'm making an assumption, but when you say 11 companies, one being Zynga, what they're trying to do is probably say like, all right, we're gonna put pressure on Zynga. They certainly can't deny this, but they can only come out with some like vague statement that sort of confirms it without outright like trying to deny it. But they were just like, no, we don't have that. That's not true. And I think these companies are just lying. There's no way that Nintendo would be very short-sighted to not be working on a Switch 4K right now. And look, I always dog on Nintendo and their tech, but like they gotta know. They gotta know.
Yeah, no, for sure. But with Zynga, the thing is, like, their wording was a little weird. They said Zynga does not have a 4K developer kit from Nintendo. Does not have. Like, maybe they returned it. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, imagine that legally.
Like, there's gotta be something going on, because everything Bloomberg says in this article is just like, it makes so much sense with the component shortages. They reached out to NVIDIA because apparently their source said that there's a new NVIDIA chip inside of the new Switch, and NVIDIA declined to comment. So it's really interesting. And also, Zynga's the only company that they name dropped out of the 11.
Yeah.
And they also say that more than 11 probably have it. They could just confirm it. So I trust Bloomberg. I think there's a little bit of weird stuff going on with Nintendo. They know we live in like a hyper-consumeristic society where people go out and buy the new console, especially if it's selling out. So
here's my theory, right?
Okay,
you ready for this?
Yeah.
I don't know if chat's ready for this. So I'm going to read the tweet and I'm going to give you my theory. So Nintendo, their corporate Twitter, posted a news report on September 30th, 2021, Japanese Standard Time, falsely claims that Nintendo is supplying tools to drive game development for a Nintendo Switch with 4K support. To ensure correct understanding among our investors and customers, we want to clarify that this report is not true. We also want to restate that, as we announced in July, we have no plans for any new model other than the Nintendo Switch OLED model, which will launch on October 8th, 2021, which is very soon. Here's my theory. They are working on a 4K device. It is not a Switch. They are working on like the Nintendo Flip. Because it's not a Switch with 4K, Paul.
Dude, no,
not.
I disagree.
No, you're not with this.
Dude.
You think they're just doing the Switch?
Well, the Switch is fucking nuts for Nintendo. They went from the Wii U, where they were like in shambles, to the Switch, and this thing sells like we're looking at like DS level sales. Well, obviously better. I mean, like Nintendo is in an insane position right now. They're gonna ride the Switch for as long as they can.
You think? I don't know. I'm of the mindset like that's how you sidestep and go like, we're not doing a Switch. It's not 4K.
Matt, we had. How many 3DSs did we have? We had like the 3DS, the 2DS, and the new 3DS XL, the 3DS XL, the new Nintendo.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, you're fire right now. Yeah.
I really think that Nintendo's going to ride the Switch wave, and this is like, okay, here's a new Switch to the family, OLED Switch. Next year, another Switch to the family. Welcome. We had another baby. It's a 4K Switch. Like, I am very confident that that's what they're planning for next year. Because like who? With that tweet, are they in legal trouble for saying like we have no plans? Because the plans can change. They're not legally
we
legally
changed our
bonded by
minds
that
in like a year.
They're not legally bound to a tweet, as far as I know.
Yeah, I guess you're right on that. Maybe they're not legally bound to said tweet, but
look at plans change. Here's this 4K Switch. Who's going to be complaining? We're going to be getting 4K Switches.
True. Imagine they are just breaking the law, but they know no one's going to care when it happens.
Yeah, right. Like they got rid of Reggie, and now they're just like lawbreakers.
Yeah. I ended up, I think I said this last week, but I ended up taking the OLED model from Dustin. Dustin had a pre-order, and he texted me, and he was he was like, do you want it? And I like roasted him for it, like pre-ordering and shit. And then what happens, I launched Retro Rebound, and I'm like, I'm probably going to need this. Like, I feel pretty, because it was the same feeling I got with my Series X, where I wasn't going to get it, but then I chose to because I was like, I feel like I'm going to need this, because then we decided after I already bought it, we were like, okay, we're going to do Defining Duke. But like, that was the moment I was like, thank God I fucking got it when I did. Same thing here. I was like,
with all the Game Pass stuff too. Like, I'm glad.
Oh my gosh.
I got one as well.
Yeah.
I was the same boat. I don't use mine that much, but I got one because it was available at Best Buy, and I didn't want to pass the opportunity up, and I'm glad I did because there's so much on there.
Absolutely. Yeah, the OLED, though, I think it's the reason they keep pushing out these models is probably because the DS, it probably gets their software rates so high. Think about like what we were talking about in call the other night, where, by the way, I tried to hand my friend a Switch for free, and he wouldn't take it. But I digress. I was saying that you get a new Switch, and they always get passed down, and then you just get more software sales from them. Like, it's this hint of genius with these software or with these hardware refreshes that they do. And it just, you're always seeing consoles that maybe weren't sold, but they don't really make much on the hardware anyway, but they're making so much off the games because like they're just passing to a new person who's going to buy like 8 games now.
I was going to say that, like, when I was considering getting OLED as well, but I don't think it's a good move for me because I barely play my Switch handheld. But And now with the 4K Switch reporting, I'm definitely not getting one. But I was gonna, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just give my Switch to my sister or my girlfriend because she has a Switch Lite, so she could finally hook her Switch up to the TV. Um, but yeah, so it's insane how these consoles are like hand-me-downs. Like, here's a Switch. I got the new one.
Yep.
And now everybody buys more and more games. It's something about like those handheld consoles that are like so like transmissible. You can just give them to someone else.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I agree entirely. We got a couple of super chats I want to go through. First one comes from Vancouver. Have you all played Outer Wilds? The most surprising, incredible story I've ever experienced. Highly recommended. Don't look up anything about it. Have you played this? This is what I always hear about this game.
No.
I haven't either. I hear this all the time. Is it a long game? Because that's something I would be curious about if it's not super long. Because right now I've got some commitments to gaming with some reviews.
Me too.
And it's heating up. And then I got to play one game for Retro Rebound that I want to spoil right now. So there's some stuff that's percolating where it's like, once I get free time, I got to be an assassin. I got to be like, I'm on this right now. So we got our second super chat from Randall Thor 19. Maddie, if Jez is the dad of Xbox, then what am I? So for those who don't know, I've dubbed Jez Corden of Windows Central Gaming dad of Xbox. My main reason for this was because we actually it's been solidified now, rather, because when we were talking on the last Defining Duke episode, Jeff Grubb learned that a announcement of what was it from Xbox? Something from Xbox got delayed. Oh, it was the numbers they were going to reveal for Game Pass, because Jez said they were like 23 million and they were below 23 million. And so they didn't want to have this like moment of like Jez had a higher number than what they were putting out. So they were like, we're not going to do it at all. So it was solidified there. But before that, it was honestly just the idea that Jez just like puts out these articles and like everyone talks about it. It's like, Dad's home. And so that's how I was viewing it. With Rand, though, I feel like Rand's the cool uncle of Xbox. Rand pulls up. He's like, what's going on, kids? I got your Series X right here. I've got your games here. And Rez has Rez, I said. That's a combination, right? Rand has the knowledge of a historian. It's funny, Rand is here because I was listening to Xbox 2 through a whole workout. So imagine that. I'm doing shoulders and abs today listening to Xbox 2. So shout out to both Jez and Rand for a fantastic show. But yes, Rand, we're going to call you cool uncle of Xbox, if that's all right with you.
I always saw, this is off topic because Phil Spencer's not like a reporter or a journalist or whatever on Xbox, but I always saw him as the dad. Like, do you remember that one Discord conversation where someone said like, that dude has a dad bod, and we were like, no, that's not what a dad bod is.
Who are we talking about, Phil? Or
yeah, Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think Phil Spencer's like I could like when I hear dad of Xbox, this is a person that I'm just adding on he's who comes to mind because he's got like a dad bod. You know what I mean? Like it's like that bulky guy. He's like that smile. Like
yeah, I can see that. I feel like he's kind of got grandpa energy. He's very benevolent.
No,
he's always providing.
No shot.
You don't think like when your grandparents came through and they would give you money just for existing. Like I feel like that's what the kind of energy Phil carries with him. It's like grandpa's here, free shit, let's go. Like I always know he's good for that.
I can see it. Yeah, I got you.
Last super chat, and we'll continue on with the news. Off topic, Maddie. This one comes from J Train. But how much do you lose your mind if Josh Sawyer's secret project for Obsidian is a KOTOR 2 remake? One can hope, right? It's definitely not that. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you for sure it's definitely not that. But if it were going to happen, yeah, I would lose my mind. But it's way too soon. And if Aspire succeeds with the first one, I anticipate they will make a second one. Some interesting stuff happening behind the scenes on that game. Let's move on with the news here. We got 2 bits left. Konami. They are up next. This one's interesting, right? Because, again, we heard these leaked rumors for a while when it came to a remake of Metal Gear by Bluepoint, who we talked about at the beginning of the show. So, according to sources who are remaining anonymous at Video Game Chronicles, Konami is set to ramp up its premium game development with installments and remakes for its biggest franchises, including Metal Gear and Castlevania. It's slowed down since Metal Gear in 2018, but now they are picking it back up. They're restructuring the game development divisions, it says in this article. The first of these titles will be a new Castlevania game, which sources described as a reimagining of the series, currently developed internally at Konami in Japan with support from local external studios. They said that VGC was told that the series Metal Gear is being reworked by Virtuos, who is one of the largest game developers in the world. They recently did Switch ports for Dark Souls Remastered, The Outer Worlds, and BioShock Collection, and they contributed on blockbusters Battlefield 1, Uncharted 4, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Side note on the Outer Worlds port, that shit sucked at launch, so just keep that in mind with your expectations. The new project is early in development, and multiple sources suggested it would be centered around fan-favorite entry Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater rather than the original Metal Gear Solid. Konami also intends to release remasters of the original Metal Gear Solid games for modern consoles ahead of the larger project, we understand. Finally, multiple Silent Hill games are currently in development at various external studios, as per an earlier VGC report from February. One of these projects was outsourced to a prominent Japanese developer earlier this year. We were told Konami should publicly showcase its plans in major shows next year, disruption from the pandemic permitting. Konami pulled out of this year's E3 2021 show due to timing issues, although at the time it was confirmed it had a number of key projects in the work. Konami's Japanese bosses are understood to have historically pushed back against most pitches of outsourcing its key game brands, which is a big reason why previous pitches for Silent Hill games, such as one by Until Dawn studio Supermassive, were never greenlit. However, following the disappointment performances from recent in-house titles like Metal Gear Survive and Contra Rogue Corp, VGC sources say the company has become more willing to contract outside studios for its major franchises. And by the way, this is not including the recent football game that has released from Konami, which I don't know if you've seen any of the screenshots, but it's fucking horrendous. And then, last but not least, Eurogamer corroborated this report from Konami about greenlighting a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. So, with that, how do you feel about all this? Konami getting back in the action a little bit more.
I've never played Metal Gear, so I really hope that they're doing like remakes for that series because I want to jump into it. People always say like it's amazing. Actually, no, I played Phantom Pain for like 2 hours, and like I didn't really understand what was going on.
Put like 30 in.
So, well, but you probably played previous games, right?
I actually played. Yeah, I did play. I love Metal Gear Solid 2. That's my favorite of the whole series. I think that game's excellent, especially it's aged really well now because of its story elements. But yeah, I played 2 and 3 and 4 before 5 came out. I was excited for 5, but 5 was like, I don't know. I got bored of it. Like I was hoping for it to evolve eventually, and it never really did. Anyway, sorry, go on. I interrupted you.
But yeah, no, I hope they're bringing that back because I would love to get into that series from what I hear about it. But Silent Hill, I am very weird with Silent Hill because I haven't played the games, but I know so much about them because they're just so fascinating to me. I love horror titles. Survival horror is great, and horror in general is just something I love to take in, embrace, and enjoy. So when I was in Canada with my girlfriend, we like grinded out like the Silent Hill, like a 2-hour video from about like Silent Hill 2's story, and it's just so good. Like I kind of wish I didn't watch it so I could have played the game, but. And that prompted me like look at the music for the game. I actually tweeted out about Silent Hill today. I was like, it's October 1st, like some spooky month. It's Halloween, so I want to play Silent Hill. That's like my goal. Yeah, and then Castlevania. I only know the music, man. I don't know much about it, but that's one game. If we just look back for a second to the Netflix thing, that's it. There's a Netflix series for it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine that just gets thrown onto Netflix.
I'm telling you, I guarantee that's got to be something in motion to some extent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But interestingly enough, I was looking at the Eurogamer corroboration, and about Silent Hill. Apparently, the composer for Silent Hill, bless them for their great music, Akira Yamaoka. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Spoke a little too soon with a quickly deleted tease that he was back at work on a project you're hoping to hear about.
I remember that.
Yes, and that was earlier this year. So I guess that sort of like adds on to this this developing story.
Yeah, I think Akira worked with Bloober Team on the Medium, and now that Bloober Team and Konami have announced a partnership, you have to imagine they're working on a Silent Hill game. It's interesting that multiple Silent Hill games are in development, but a Japanese studio, that's what's kind of interesting about that. So I do wonder who that would be. It'd be really cool if it was like Tango Gameworks, but I doubt
someone in chat, Albert Hood, said Silent Hill was on sale on Xbox. I want to jump on that.
They also had
That's gonna be my Halloween game.
Yeah, they had the Silent Hill HD collection there, but apparently like the fog got fucked up in that game and the music.
Man.
Yeah, don't play the HD re-release because apparently they like removed a lot of the things that made it really good. Like, because I remember Wario tweeting out and beneath his promotion, like he always does, he said something along the lines of like watch reviews before this, and I'm like, it's an HD collection. Like, what did they do wrong? And I was looking at the replies, and I got a pretty good gauge for how people feel about it, but.
That sucks because the fog and like the atmosphere is something people really love for that game. So
I really want to try it out. That one I'm very keen on. There's a lot of stuff from that Konami era that I missed out on. Like I played Castlevania. I couldn't tell you the name of some of them because I was so young at the time. But I had an appreciation for Castlevania. But the ones that I remember, which this is kind of like a cardinal sin, but I did play a lot of Lords of Shadow on 360 and PS3. They were sort of God of War inspired Castlevania games. I thought they were good, but I know they weren't. Even back then, I was like, this isn't what Castlevania is. But like, it didn't mean it wasn't a bad game. It just probably wasn't the best Castlevania game. But Lords of Shadow was really fucking fun. I thought it was a really well done game in a lot of ways, and so was its sequel to some extent. But I'm very curious to see what their reimagining when it comes back is and how they do it, because you've got Bloodstained out and about now, and Bloodstained was from what I played, it was really good. I need to play more of that at some point in time. So many good games out now. It sucks.
What if they just threw Silent Hill at Bluepoint and we're like, do something?
Yeah, imagine.
Just imagine that happened.
That's their original content. Yeah,
dude.
I just
remaster of those games would be so good because, like I said, the atmosphere is just what just kills it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Apparently, who was the team that was Blue Box was the ones making Silent Hill? Blue Box.
Oh yeah. What's the game they're making called?
Abandoned.
Abandoned.
Fucking,
Wow.
oh my god, man! I'm so happy that shit died out. I was like, that was such a stupid storyline. It amounted to literally nothing. Literally
Dude,
nothing.
that fucking demo was such a joke. It
I
was.
know.
I was like, I remember I was at home and I was like, damn, I want to play this demo. I want to see what this is about. And then people were like, no, you don't play it. You watch it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, a trailer, let's go. And then it's like a guy walking. I'm like, bro, what do you? Just stay away from the internet until you have something to show us. Like,
I find myself
people
hard pressed to actually be on camera laughing as hard as I did when Abandon got the reveal. That was incredible to experience. Like an actual historic moment in gaming. And just watching like everyone's smiles go, ooh, like it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Dude, they kept trying to ride like the Silent Hill possibility, and I don't know, man.
So stupid. It's so dumb.
I don't know what Blue Box is doing. Sony must be pretty pissed with that.
I know, right? Like, why the fuck did we sign these assholes anyway? I just hope Konami brings back the TMNT games while they're at it. You know, that era of 2003 TMNT games that they did. Me and Soul talk about it all the time. I fucking love those games. Some great beat 'em ups in there. Oh my god, they brought them back, but they never will. Like, that's so not in demand from them whatsoever. And Nickelodeon's doing whatever the fuck they want with TMNT. So I'll survive. It's okay. Plus, we got the new TMNT game coming, so that looks pretty good. And then we got All-Star Brawl, which is coming out in just a short couple of days. So with that, let's move on to our last bit of news here. Final Fantasy, Stranger of Paradise. This new demo came out, release date, trailer came out. It's getting memed all over the web.
Is it really? I wish I watched it.
Oh, have you seen the clip yet? Have you not seen the clip? This will be amazing.
No.
Oh,
wait, what is it?
Go look it up. Go look it up right now. I don't want to describe it to you. I'll talk about the game a little bit in the meantime.
It's a 3-minute trailer. I'll just be watching.
Don't watch the trailer. Don't watch the trailer. Well, look up just type in like, it's actually in our Twitter group chat. You should be able to find it in there.
Okay, I'll go find it.
Yeah,
then, yeah.
Because it's just, you got to experience it. If I describe it, oh my gosh. But anyway, Strangers of Paradise is coming out March 18th, 2022. So that part of the year has gotten even more busy. You see it right now?
No, let's just keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, so Strangers of Paradise is this, it's by Team Ninja. It's I keep seeing you laughing. Are you just watching the game right now?
That's not a joke.
No.
That's real?
Yeah.
What?
Bullshit. He plays the music. It's so funny.
God.
Yeah, but the this part of the year is now extremely busy. It's by Team Ninja, the team that brought us Neo. which is excellent, by the way. I think Neo just is like a fine wine. It just gets better with years, and as time progresses on, I think of it more fondly. So it's by them. It's being published by Square Enix. It looks really fucking corny, though. And I'm sure, Paul, why don't you break down the scene that you've just witnessed for some of us?
Yeah, so Jack Garland, I'm guessing that's a Final Fantasy character. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I play Strangers of Paradise, so I'll get into that in a second. But he says bullshit when he's talking to someone. He pulls out an iPhone and he starts playing Limp Bizkit. I think what gets it for me is the fact that like the audio quality doesn't change to be like the actual song. It sounds like you're listening to it through a phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's just walking away as he says it. They're just standing there. Dude, I don't know. I feel like if that's what this game consists of, I'm even more hyped for it because
it actually got me pretty interested because I remember I was like kind of trashing. I was like, this doesn't look good at all. Like,
dude, no, you gotta play the demo. It's good.
It's
really
one?
cool. No, it's not out yet. The old one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I don't know if the old one's still running, but Never and I played it. It's really cool. It's like Neo 2, right? Or Neo, whatever. But you have like different classes, and you level up these classes, and it's. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like it a lot.
I like the idea of that. Well, okay, so you level up these classes, but like, what happens? Do you know what happens afterwards? You get like new skills, or
Yeah, no, you get like skills. It's like I don't know. You can go from like being a black mage to just having an axe. It's like Final Fantasy 14, but like a Neo Final Fantasy,
okay.
right? Like we have all these
like
different
that.
classes. It's worth giving a shot.
It's like an action-based job system.
The combat, yeah, the combat's really fun too. That's exactly a perfect way of putting it. An action-based job system. But I will say, I don't really dig like the aesthetic of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it looks like edgy. Kind of reminds me of like Final Fantasy 15 with like you know the boys. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah. So, but that clip is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I just love that they
know.
did that. I mean, it shows to me that they're having fun. They have to know that was so stupid.
Yeah.
Because it just trivializes literally everything that character before him just said, and he just walks out bullshit.
Dude, I think this game's gonna have like the combat is gonna pull people in the job system. The next demo is co-op, so if you want to hit it up, let me know.
Oh, absolutely, we'll definitely do that because I'm curious about it. I want to be open to it because I was definitely shutting it down because what I was seeing of it was just like really. I mean, I love Neo 2 so much, and I don't expect it to be Neo 2 by any stretch of the imagination. But I was just looking at it, I was like, this is such a step down from what Neo 2 is as a video game. I think I just have to accept on one front that like Neo 2 is such a strong evolution of everything from the first game, and it was able to build itself because I had patience with it and I gave it time and I fell in love with it. That I got to do the same approach to Strangers of Paradise. Plus, if they're going to deliver like that level of horrible B-tier comedy all game,
yeah,
that's going to be so entertaining than any story Team Ninja's ever told.
I think like looking at it, like, man, the combat just looks so enjoyable, but it looks kind of like brutal, like almost like God of War-esque. It sounds kind of weird, but like he picks up a cactuar and he like turns it to crystals and smashes it on the ground like a little cute little
no.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying, bro. Like, and in the demo as well. I highly suggest. I don't think the demo's up anymore.
Right.
It could be, but I'm not sure. But when the new one comes out, everybody should go play it. And watching this new trailer too, since it's in like a different setting than the last one, I'm starting to like warm up to the look of it.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it looks a lot sharper visually than what they first displayed, which looked not great at all.
Yeah, no, this just gets me more hyped for it.
Never said in chat that the new trial's out until October 11th for those who are interested in playing.
Now?
He said until, so whenever it does come out, if it's out now or later, it's out till October 11th.
All right. Well,
yeah, some of the chat's saying it's out now. Albert Hood said it. Hayabusa said it. So for those who are interested, go ahead and check it out. But that's all the news we've got for you this week. It's time for us to transition into some tap-ins.
All right. Let's get I think Mufat Cock was the first person. So we will bring him in.
All right, cool.
Now. Hello, Mufat.
I want to just call.
He said he told us his name or what we should call him, but I forgot.
Why do I want to say
last time?
It was Max or something like that. I want to say, but that's
Oh, I
completely
think you're right.
completely off base.
No, I think you're right.
Him and Coach Blue have been waiting a while because obviously we
Yeah.
we were letting them know like, hey, we're gonna do the 2 tap-ins in the beginning, but if he's not here, we'll just switch in Coach Blue for the time being.
Mufat, you here?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we hear you.
There we are.
Clear.
Yep.
Well, good evening to you guys. Yeah, you guys can call me Ray.
Ray.
But
Ray.
if Mafat's too much of a mouthful.
You're good.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I just got that. No.
So first of all, I just want to say condolence to you, Matt. I know your buddy
you.
Duke just passed away of 17 years about 2 weeks ago. Our dog, Black Lab Pit, 16 years, also passed away. So
Sorry
I'm
to hear
feeling your pain while you feel it as well, man. But I wanted to ask you a pretty interesting question. So I finally convinced my best friend to play a Fallout game. See, he has Game Pass, so he actually ran Fallout 4 recently. But the weird thing is, the thing that convinced him to play the game was the settlement building. Yeah. So he played through all the endings. He got everything. He started modding the game after he got all the achievements that he wanted. And but the thing is, he was really disappointed by the limitations from the settlement building in the game. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you think this is something that Bethesda is going to try to improve on in the next Bethesda software games, or do you think that this is something that would pass for them?
Yeah, do you think, just to clarify, do you think Starfield, or are you talking like next Fallout game?
I mean, it could be Starfield, the next Fallout game, the next Elder Scroll games. Do you think that this is something that's going to be a continuous component of Bethesda Game Studio games, or do you think this is it?
Yeah.
And how can they improve on that format if they're going to keep it there?
Paul, you want to go for it?
Yeah,
especially as someone who likes Dragon Quest Builders so much.
Yeah.
I kind of hope they don't, because I found it really took away from Fallout 4. Like, I remember in what was it? I guess Fallout 3 and New Vegas, both of them, they had like, there were so many different settlements and areas you could, even like smaller ones you could go to. But I felt like in Fallout 4, they were watered down for the sake of being buildable. But if they do, I would like to see it where it's not like predetermined settlements that you can build at, but instead like you can just pick a place somewhere in the open world and start building there. Like in Fallout 76, right? Fallout 76, I think, actually did take a step further with the settlement building. I played the beta for 76 and canceled my pre-order. But,
respect.
But I canceled it for Red Dead Redemption 2. So
great choice.
Good choice. Yeah. But I hope if they do have it in Starfield, which I imagine they don't want to just throw that idea away, especially in a game where you're going to different planets. I imagine you're going to want to like colonize these planets and start building up stuff. I think it'll be there, and I just hope they let us build wherever, like in 76.
Yeah, for me, I'm of the mindset that I remember when I heard Fallout 4 had building, I remember being very excited about it because I thought it fit really well with the idea of what Fallout is, especially the theme of Fallout 4. Like, the theme of that game is rebuilding, and you don't step into such a desolate world like in Fallout 1 or 2 or even 3. You step into a world that's actually like getting back onto its feet. Like, you find a functioning city like Diamond City. And so I thought it worked really well thematically. I think what happened was, for folks like myself who are like hardcore fans that were open to it, you had a system that works well, but it took away from what made Bethesda games special. So if you can find a way to bridge that gap, that's what I'm looking for. If they were to bring it to Starfield, say, I would hope that they would say, okay, we're going to let you build on these planets. But I always had this idea with Fallout 4 that I think they could just take and run a mile with, but like the very baseline of it is, okay, you've built up this civilization on this planet, and once it hits, we had like a settlement happiness meter. Let's say once it hits 50%, now X99 comes in, and X99 has a specific quest in this specific settlement because you've reached this level of happiness. Now it feels like you're growing something that's natural, and you can only find these characters and these quests that you love in Fallout through that mode. I feel like it was disjointed effectively. It's like it is an RPG, it is a first-person shooter, and it is a builder rather than trying to have them all mingled together. So for me, that would be the ideal evolution, because I think you still have a game that builds, and for a person like your friend who is like, oh, I just want to build, them seeing more quests isn't a scary thing. It's not a hardcore mechanic. But for someone like myself, it's like, okay, I want to build because I can get to more of the Fallout stuff or more of the Bethesda Game Studio stuff that I like. So I just think it's that connection there, and not just making it take away from, I don't want to ramble too long on this, but in Fallout 4, you had a lot of towns that just felt lifeless because all of the life came to the settlements you built, but you couldn't have these Rivet City level interactions where you were talking to like Dr. Lee and all the different scientists, and like you couldn't find a town like, I'm drawing a blank on, it's the town of cannibals, Andale. You couldn't find something like that in Fallout 4 because they were so focused on making those towns that you were building the life in the world. And once again, it works thematically, but it just, I think, took away so much from what made Fallout. So I don't think they made a bad game with that, but I think it's just such an easy thing to evolve, where if I hear it, I'll have that moment of like, similar to the dialogue lines. I don't know how long you've been listening, Ray, but just that like, okay, we have a lot of lines of dialogue. We may have another voice protagonist on our hands here, but I'm not going to get too up in arms about it. Same thing here. If they go, we're doing building again, it's like, okay, I'm not up in arms. I'm a little worried, but I'm not up in arms. But that's how I would personally say they could evolve it.
I also
So
you can go.
If I could for one moment, do you guys think that now that you said that about a lot of the places feeling kind of empty or kind of lifeless, do you think that it would make it easier to kind of streamline, give people the option, give a streamlined option where it's kind of like some of these creator games where you could just put a whole building down rather than having to put up every individual wall how you want to do it, but also give players who want to do that the option to build individually the way they like?
Go for it, Paul.
So you're saying that like they should allow us, or you're asking if they should allow like both options, like you throw a whole building down, you're done with it, you don't have to focus on the building, or also give the option to, I mean, that would be an ideal, right? I think my thing, which Matt touched upon a little bit, I really hope that they just keep the settlement building away from what they build. Bethesda does an amazing job with their environmental storytelling. Like you look at something like Megaton or Rivet City. Both are perfect examples. Rivet City is an aircraft carrier that they hauled out and turned into a whole city. Megaton is a city built inside of a crater, and there's a big bomb in the middle. Like that's like when you think of Rivet City, you just think of like, or no, sorry, when you think of Megaton, you think of the nuke.
Absolutely.
Tenpenny Tower was a hotel, and now it's like a bunch of rich people, classy people living inside of the huge tower. I feel like you don't get that as much in Fallout 4 other than Diamond City, right? So I would love to see in Starfield or whatever, Bethesda goes ahead and creates their cities, their worlds, give them their flavor, their personality, and then leave pockets of the world open. They're desolate. Like, there's a lot of openness in Fallout New Vegas where there's nothing, just vast expanses, little shacks full of like stuff you can grab and stuff.
Right.
Ammo, stim packs, whatever. Let people build there. Let people build up their civilizations, their settlements there. Maybe they can make it appear on the map, you know? Make it feel like they're actually having an impact on the world and not just an impact on already developed cities. That's my take on it. I just want a good balance between the two. Yeah,
I think I could only echo your sentiment on that, really, is that you just don't want it to take away from those things. I look at something like Fallout 76, which evolved it in I think some thoughtful ways. They made it where you could have like the bunker underground and kind of create your own vault, if you will.
They did it 4 too in the DLC, right?
Yeah, but this was like you could sort of place it wherever you want, and then you'd like go down into that bunker, and it would sort of keep it out of the overworld, so you could get more. In my opinion, I could get more invested in the world of the Appalachia rather than like seeing some player create like a 40,000 step skyscraper in the middle of the Appalachia. It's like, what the fuck is that? You know, like that type of stuff just breaks me away more than anything. And I think it's one of like the things that you just can't control in that game, but that helped sort of quell it while giving those people more tools to build with. And then, of course, the bigger issue with it more than anything is that they've used it as a monetization method. So they've decided to bring the Atomic Shop in. And they're like, here are these new fun parts and things that you can throw in there. And they're like, we're not going to put any gameplay mechanics in it, but they've effectively, with Fallout First and with the refrigerator and all this stuff, they've made it where
storage.
The storage. Yeah, like they made this stuff matter. through monetization. So that's the other thing is I think folks would be more open to it, but now we're seeing that they took a step too far and they helped dial that back. Like they really cut out pretty much the survival mechanics for Fallout 76, where it's like you don't have to eat and drink all the time to keep your character's stats up, which is something I could not stand. I thought I was alone and I was just like a low-level character being an idiot. But once they removed it, a lot of people were like, yes. And I was like, okay, that was clearly a big issue for a lot of players. So for me, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of making sure that there are those handcrafted instances throughout the whole game, and that's the focus. And if you're going to do the building, that you can evolve that in a way that connects the two, not separates them more.
I think that's actually a perfect answer. I kind of feel the same way about it being interrupting the gameplay and everything. So I appreciate you guys taking my question.
Of course.
I want to leave Kobe with this. Don't shoot down Dark Spider-Man, man. Tonight, read Craven's Last Hunt. Craven's Last Hunt. It's only 6 issues, and it's honestly my favorite Spider-Man comic series. And it's only 6 issues. You can get it done in a night.
Anything you got to read before that?
No. It's pretty instant. You'll get the understanding of the basics. You know, Craven's a hunter. He's always trying to get the best battle that he can. That's kind of why everybody thought that was his voiceover in the Spider-Man 2 preview that they gave.
Guess and say it's really dark.
It's pretty dark. It's one of the darker Spider-Man comics out there, but I mean, Spider-Man does kind of get dark sometimes. Definitely Gwen Stacy,
I like
things like that. But I think you got to read Craven's Last Hunt tonight, man. It's not going to take too much of your time. It's only 6 issues. I'm going to give you my full vouch for it.
All right.
Okay.
We'll take it, Ray.
I'll have to give it a look.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks so much, Ray. Take care.
All right. See ya. All right. Do you want to do a patron question or move Coach Blue in? He's been waiting.
Yeah,
a while.
let's move Coach Blue in. Yeah, we only had 2 call-ins waiting. We'll move them both in. But Ray,
All
nice
right.
guy. Thank you, Ray. All right.
Coach Blue in here.
There we go.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, Coach Blue.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing well,
Doing
man.
pretty
Thank you
good.
for calling in. Oh, we got a webcam.
No
we've got a
problem. You guys
camera.
see me too?
There we go. Yes, we can see you now. Let's see if it.
Let's
Nice.
go.
All right, you're officially Kobe the kitten. So that's something with when the webcams turn on. I don't know what happens, but anyway.
We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. If that's our biggest issue this
No
episode,
problem.
that's totally fine. Anyway, how's it going, Coach?
Not bad. Sorry, my voice is a little raspy. Normally, I'd be coaching a football game right about now, but I do have COVID-19 at the moment.
No.
Yeah. So can't do that. So I'm home. But the silver lining is I'm on the show. So
Yeah, I hope you're doing well. I've been through that. Have you what are your symptoms like?
they've cleared up, but I had every symptom in the book.
Shit.
Chills and hot flashes and a little shortness of breath and what else? All the above.
Well, I'm
So-
glad
Do you
you're
teach,
here
do you
and
teach high
smiling
school
safe.
football?
Yeah, appreciate it.
dad-
What'd you say,
my-
Kopi?
Do you teach high school football?
I do. Yeah.
My dad did the exact same thing. for
Oh,
most of
really?
his
That's
life.
awesome.
Yeah, I would be at high school football games for most Fridays, growing up. So, yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
fun stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I guess I just wanted to say, well, first of all, I've been playing some New World today.
Okay.
And I normally don't like MMOs. ESO is the only one I've ever kind of enjoyed, but I'm actually really liking it. And for Maddie, I'm still getting to know Kopi, but Maddie is kind of, it feels like a cross between RuneScape and Greedfall, which
Oh no, that's a
should
dangerous.
feel right up your alley.
Oh my god, that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, mechanically it kind of feels like a adult modern RuneScape,
Okay.
but the aesthetic and theme is very colonial, Greedfall, muskets, all that kind of good stuff. And
I like that.
yeah, it feels really good. I think what is getting me towards it, I know you can play ESO for free, but there's so many expansions for it now that it's kind of hard. It's a tough buy-in to play it for free if you want to play all those expansions, and you get the extra XP and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, if you don't have a lot of time to play a MMO, right, it's kind of a hard ask sometimes, because if I don't touch it for 2 months and I forget my subscription, then obviously there's $30 out the door.
Yeah.
But
right.
New World being a flat rate of $40 with quite a lot
40?
of content out the gate. Yeah, it's only 40.
I thought it was 60. Okay.
Uh-uh.
All right.
Yeah.
You're talking my talk right now. Let's keep going.
I know, right? So yeah, it's only 40. and I'm really enjoying it. And I didn't really have a question about it. I just wanted to share that.
Okay, well then
it's been a good experience.
I'll ask you the questions, and Paul has
Sure.
anything he'll ask you as well. All right, so as someone who is playing Star Wars: The Old Republic pretty continuously when I have the open time, this is a 10-year-old MMO I'm playing, right? And I'm playing it strictly because I love the Old Republic so much. I'm working on a 2021 review for it, which will go live towards the end of this year. Patrons will get it early because it'll be done before that. But to my point, or to my question rather, what separates this game from old MMOs? Because I feel like when I looked at the combat, that was like one of them, right? It's a little more action-packed. And I remember I was talking about this on Defining Duke where, you know, in ESO, when you cast a spell, you know, your spell like always tracks the target and it's always going to hit them. This seems more like you actually have to aim, click, hit. Like it actually feels more like, say, a third-person shooter. Would that be accurate on a gameplay front?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I've liked the most about it. I haven't used magic yet, but I've been using a bow and arrow and a musket, and you do have to click down the right mouse, aim, and then press the left mouse to shoot. And it does not track your target, or it doesn't aim assist at all. And from what I've heard and kind of from what I've seen from some of my friends that have played a little bit further than I have, that has played really well into PvP content. That PvP is super fun because of that in a lot of ways, because the combat's very free flowing and pretty modern action combat. So,
yeah.
But one of the other things to answer also what you said too is and how it separates itself too is the faction wars is pretty cool. So there's 3 factions in the game and you got to pick one. That's not different than like a lot of MMOs, obviously, but the different factions take control of the map, almost kind of like For Honor, in a way. But the like world economy runs based on like the faction map, for example. So if you join one of the factions, I think like the Covenant is one, and if you're trying to sell some of your goods in a town that's owned by the Covenant, you have to pay higher taxes if you're not a part of the Covenant. And stuff like that. And then you can engage in giant full-scale wars, which is, I think, 50 versus 50 players to take control of a new region or gain back control of a new region for your faction or whatever it is.
Very Greedfall, colonial almost. And fuck, see, that's the thing. I didn't want to like what you're talking
really
about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you take over like a region and someone comes in from another faction and they want to buy stuff, it's more expensive. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a trade system and there's a taxation system.
So if you're, that's awesome.
I know it's pretty cool because if, like I said, if you're, what is it too? The fast traveling system isn't super forgiving in a way too. So like it is kind of a trek. There's no vehicles or anything like that. There's no mounts. So you do have to travel a decent amount. So like that's part of it where you can't just fast travel to a different section that's controlled by your own faction, right? So like you might be neck deep in a quest line that's in a region controlled by a different faction other than yours. And because of that, you're actually paying a tax to like sell your goods or whatever it is in that area.
Things that are affected by like taking over a region? Like if I'm a different player from another faction and I want to go into whatever region, other things that are affected?
I don't know. I haven't gotten super far enough to tell if there are. So I couldn't answer that for sure. But I know that I'm sure there is. And I know that you can't attack, members of your own faction in the open world, stuff like that. And of course, you can turn off like PvP in the open world or whatever, so nobody can attack you and all that kind of stuff too. But
right. What's the last question I got for you? What's the RuneScape connection for you? Like, are you, the thing that's selling me big on that is the thing I love number one about RuneScape more than anything is if I don't feel like running around and working on strength or attack or whatever, I can go work on wood cutting. I can work on fire making or fletching. Like, I loved that about that game because there were times I didn't want to do fighting and I could just play the game still and have a good time and make progress doing so. Is there something like that in this game?
Yeah, I haven't played with all of its systems, but it does have kind of a Skyrim leveling system to it, where whatever you're doing levels up, right? So like, if you want to do cooking and make recipes and sell a bunch of the stuff that you make, or just whatever it is that you want to do, cut down trees, do logging, whatever it is, that skill upgrades. So you can, and then I guess the other comparison was that the trading system, it's not like a ESO where you're trading with an NPC vendor. It's all a player economy. So you're just putting it out into the open market to be sold, and people can buy your stuff and stuff like that. So I think that's some more of the RuneScape connection there too.
So it sounds like the systems are what sell this game. Like I haven't heard anything about the story. It's really like the combat, the skills, the interactions in the world, the PvP. It seems like that's what's going to sell you on this game.
Yeah. The story hasn't caught me at all. Of course, with being a big, Persona 5 Royal and Mass Effect fan and all that, I'm all about the story.
Yeah,
you're spoiled.
My expectations are up here, and it's not that. But the systems for sure. I haven't even played it with a friend yet. That's the thing. Is I'm hoping to get like Felix in there and some other guys from the Discord in there to play it with me and see how that is. But even just playing it solo, the systems right now are enough, and the combat, like I said, is pretty fun. It feels really good.
Yeah, and we're always on our server like looking for games to play together. Where like we've hopped back to really old ones like ESO and stuff, but it hasn't just felt right because there's like some people just aren't interested. Where this could be that type of game for the server. That's the thing. I want to play it. I don't know if now is the right time for me to hop in, but like I don't even have FOMO for it. It's just like it sounds like something I would really like. And it sucks because I literally had $40 that I was like willing to spend, and it was either Diablo 2 with a couple of friends or New World. And I was like, well, I'm playing SWTOR. I doubt New World will be that great. But now like everything I'm hearing about it isn't even like overselling. It's just like, hey, here's what it is. Like you haven't oversold to me. You're like, this is what it is. And I'm like, oh, okay, this actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't really like MMOs at all.
Right.
So I mean, I had a friend that was playing it and convinced me to buy it. So I gave it a shot, and I'm pretty surprised. I am enjoying it quite a bit. And like you said, I think too, in terms of like getting it to be like a Discord type of game, with ESO, there is so many different levels, right? Like, do you have all the expansions? Does everybody in the group have all the expansions? Do they all want to pay $15 a month on top of Game Pass if they have Game Pass, right? Like now you're talking $30 a month if you're trying to get into ESO type of thing. But with this, you pay that $40 and it's yours, and that's the end of the story. Yeah, it's been a pretty cool experience so far. So I have to look into it.
So thank you so much for coming in and sharing it with us.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care, Coach Blue, and feel better.
See you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. That'll be our last tap in for the show, I imagine. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I love when people come in and start talking about games. So like, I more so sit and listen because I want to hear like last time it was what, Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like this game sounds really cool, and then now this game sounds really interesting. I'm not a big MMO guy. I don't know. I can't. But like, MMO where you only pay $40 and come back whenever. I really want to play Final Fantasy 14, but $15 a month or whatever.
Yeah, we tried, man.
And
we tried.
Like, I'm on Genshin. Like Genshin's my home base MMO type game, and it's just like I don't pay for anything unless I want to. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone's got that game. Like for me, SWTOR has been it, but I also I'm excited for SWTOR's new expansion this fall because it's gonna hopefully evolve the gameplay. And if it doesn't really click with me, I think that'll be the time I dive into New World because. Me, Ty, Trex, like we're always looking for the new wave in December. Like, and MMOs typically be to where we are where we gravitate to, and I think like that's what I'll strike. I'll be like, boys, let's get in that New World hype. But to wrap this show up, we're about just over 2 hours now. We're gonna answer some of the write-ins from last week. I don't know if we'll get through all of them. Just to be clear, we do have a ton. We also don't want to rush through all of them. But my goal is to clear up the write-ins from the first episode. And if we get to all of them, but we don't want this to stretch on like I think our first episode did. So far, this has been a real good like prove it episode. I think we've done an excellent job so far. I want to make sure we just wrap it up properly. So let's dish it off to Cam, who writes in, What's up, Ham Radio Live? Sad I missed a chance to submit a question for the final episode, but at least I can submit a question for the inaugural stream. Well, I'm sorry, Cam, because you missed both of them. I'll cut to the chase. Maddie, I know you saw the Sly 5 rumor a month or so ago from someone somewhat reliable. If it turns out to be true, what are your hopes for it as someone who wants another entry in the amazing series? On a side note, your Sly vid from a few months ago was underrated and had good points about Sly 4 that many don't think about. Hope this inaugural episode kicks off without a hitch, as well as future shows to come. So, Paul,
I edited that Sly video.
Yeah, you edited it, so you had that intimate, you know what I was saying, and I know we were on the same page with it, working together on it. Of course, what do you think about Sly 5 coming back? Like, it's something that we both want so bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, my experience with Sly Cooper is Sly Cooper Thievius Raccoon is the first one, and then Sly 3. I hadn't played any of the other ones, and I started playing 2 because I platinumed Sly 1 this year on PlayStation Now, and it was like, it actually worked. I was surprised PS Now worked, but when I got to 2, for some reason, it just didn't want to play with me. It wasn't functioning well. So, for Sly 5, I want to see some Sly re-release or remaster, Bluepoint. But with Sly 5, I don't know. I haven't even played 4 yet. I know they time travel, so that's pretty wild.
It's really good, in my opinion.
It is really good. Okay, yeah, I know you can play as different Coopers, which I think is awesome. I think that's so cool that you can, because there's so much lore and like richness to dive into with the Cooper family. They talk about it in the first game. They talk about it in the second game. The first game, you get like their abilities when you collect pages for the Thievius Raccoonus, and now that they're just like, here, play as them. It's awesome.
It's such a natural evolution. It's one of the reasons I really like it. You get to play as like Tennessee Kid Cooper, Ryoichi Cooper, and they all got like these different move sets. Sir Gallant Cooper, I think is his name. Like, yeah, there's so many different ones, and what's interesting is they're not shoehorned, like you said. They're like, you see, actually, if you look at the first ever Sly Cooper, you literally see like a line of Coopers, and all of the ones that you play as in the fourth game are there in the first one. I thought that was just such cool continuity.
It's not just like, we don't know what to do, here you go.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't feel like that at all. It was such a natural transition. You get to play as Carmelita Fox. She joins your team for the whole game pretty much, so that was really nice to see. As for Sly 5, I don't know if I ever want a Sly 5. Like, I think it's just because what happened was they did a cliffhanger at the end of Thieves in Time, and Sanzari was going to do a DLC. They were stupid and did cliffhang it when they did not need to, and they ended up never doing the DLC and moving on to be bought by Oculus, so that will never be done by them. So that story will just remain unfinished. And at this point, it's like, start from the beginning. Just start from the beginning, remake it, remaster it. I'm always for continuing it, but we've never seen a company say, hey, we're the new guys coming in, and even though you've missed the first 4 entries and they're totally inaccessible, here's the 5th one. Like, they're just going to start from the beginning if they ever bring it back, right?
That's a good point, and I agree. I mean, as someone who hasn't played all the Sly games, I think it's like I'm a little biased in wanting them to bring back and remake or even just remaster them. But no, I think that's a good point, and especially since they had that cliffhanger, like I don't want to spoil it because I know people appreciated not being spoiled on this podcast. So I won't say what it is, but it is very abrupt and very like eyebrow raising. Yeah. One thing I hope, if they do end up making a Sly game, and I'm sure they will, but I hope they can retain its charm. Like like Sly Cooper's great sound effects, and I think the way they design their environments is so cool. And that's one thing I actually like about Sly 4. The fact that they have the opportunity to go back in time and really play around with like the environments that they're crafting, because now they can make it like a Western town, and it's naturally fitting because they're in that setting, that time period. So yeah, I hope that's what, if they do make a Sly, they retain what Sly is, I guess. All the stuff that I love about it.
Yeah, exactly that. The sound effects are such a key component. Like when you're tiptoeing around, it's like the dun, 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 yeah, and it picks up over time as you get closer and your feet start moving faster. It's just little things like that. The sound design for that game is so underrated amongst everything else they do. I think, if anything, I just want them. Sly Cooper, there are places that could, I don't want to use the word evolve because that's like taking an existing system and bringing it a step forward. Like, it's very much totally okay as it is. Like, I think if they did a remake Bluepoint style and did not change a thing in Sly 2, but brought those mechanics back to Sly 1, kind of like what THQ did with Destroy All Humans, where they took stuff from Destroy All Humans 2 and put it in the remake of the first one. If they did something like that for Sly 1, that's all I would want. I think bringing like the Thieves Net, the Ninja Spire, the health bar. Like those things were just like, by the end of Sly Cooper, it was like perfected in my eyes. It's like, okay, just how many different ways can we play? Of course, more verticality, more mobility. That's great. You look at games like Spider-Man as like pinnacles of that type of world design and like how you can get from the bottom to the top and the ways you can do that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think something like that would be a great addition. But beyond that, like Sly Cooper, I thought was just phenomenal as is. Yeah, there's nostalgia talking there, but I do think that it's just superb. And so just bringing it back would be hype enough for me.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right, Paul, we got another right in here. Peebus. Hey, Ham fam, I'm so happy to see you guys mixing it up. And in honor of the rebirth of Ham Radio, I'd like to give you all an opportunity to push your own boundaries a bit. My question is, what's the weirdest fact or piece of information you're willing to divulge about your life, past, or current situation? Thanks for doing what you're doing. Keeping the news fun for us. Stay happy, my friends. And thank you, Peebus. Thank you to everyone who's joining us live. We've sat around like 200 live viewers this whole episode for just supporting what we're doing here and being about the change. We know change is not always welcome, but we've had such a warm reception from our community, some great constructive feedback that I think we've answered strongly this episode. And I'm really, really excited to see the feedback on it. But Paul, what do you want to divulge about yourself? Because you're the new guy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know. That's probably why the question is being asked.
I was going to say, I feel like I've been around and just talked my ass off so much that most people who meet me know more about me than they probably should. But
weirdest fact or piece of information?
I don't even know if it has to be weird, right? At the end of the day, I don't know if it has to be weird. It just be, like take this as an opportunity for people to like know something about you. So in future questions and write-ins, like you're definitely like all right, I know this about Paul. Kind of like how they did with Dustin, Carrick, and so on and so forth.
Man, I wish I'd read this before so I know what to say. I mean, there's a lot of things I could like minor thing. I love cats. Cats are like, I adore cats. I think this is kind of weird because I don't really know how to formulate it in my head, but I usually will like, I like junk food, like junk food anime. And junk food like games sometimes, especially when it's like they play into like certain cliches. I don't know why. It's just something I can put on like in the background when I'm doing something, and I think I give it more like love and attention than I should. I guess I don't know. That's a little tiny fact. Like
I mean, people love anime in our Discord, so prepare for like a ton of questions now. As you've opened the floodgates.
Dude, I'm gonna get recommendations now. Like it's gonna be
absolutely. No, that's what it's all about. It's about taste. Like, is there any other tastes that you have in mind that you would want to share? Retro, current?
Jeez. I'm kind of a nostalgic guy. I like some nostalgia in my life, and I think like one thing that I've come to like realize recently, like when I was talking about Silent Hill earlier, I really love like when you see like older soundtracks and older like sounds and visuals from like games and like consoles, like the PlayStation 2. Something about the PlayStation 2 boot sequence is just so fascinating to me. Like you're flying through like the clouds and the woo, and like they have the towers, and it turns out those are like the memory sticks. I don't know. That stuff like fascinates me. So I don't know. I just love like older like I find those like sounds and like visuals from older games to be like little tiny pieces of history. Like we won't get that nowadays. You won't get that from modern game devs. Yeah. Because like they're a product of their setting. Like the 8-bit looping soundtracks we were talking about earlier or whatever. It would be very rare to find a soundtrack like that because the reason it existed was because of the modern limitations.
Right.
And I'm going off on a tangent here. That's just something.
I mean, people want to know about you, man. Like you're the new host. Like you're a new guy. They got to get to know you. You got to be out there with that opinion, that your personality, all that stuff, which you've done great with, by the way. I'm just saying, feel free to ramble.
So fun fact about me, I love the PlayStation 2 beep.
Yeah, I was going to say, just those fucking obscure shit. Like, oh, by the way, this guy really likes the PS2 boot up sequence. Hey, Paul, what else do you like?
I don't know. I'm sure we'll learn more and more about me as the podcast goes on. Yeah. Like, I divulged some information today. Like, I'm a student journalist. My dad was a football coach for high school, stuff like that. You're going to learn more and more about Paul. Don't worry. I know you all love it. It's coming.
Yeah, we're slowly peeling the onion layers of Paul back. For me, I mean, what don't you fuckers know about me at this point in time? Life past, or current situation. It's a weird thing. I recently divulged that, like, when I'm in my studio walking around and I'm like getting ready for a video, I'm literally doing the video before I do the video. Like, I'm talking to myself the whole fucking time. Like, I talk to myself a sick amount when I'm getting in my work mode. Like, that's the one thing I wonder about. Like, we've always talked about, like, when our game releases and what's the next step after that. And we fantasize a bit about, like, working in a studio together. I'm like, I talk to myself all the fucking time. Like, would I still do that? Would that disrupt how I think? Like, do I need that externalizing factor to bring my brain to a new level? Like, I always wonder about that. So, I mean, I've recently shared that. I've talked about my elbow a lot lately. I guess given the what's up?
It benches you from League.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that's actually a good. Yeah, I think I've talked about that. How I just couldn't play PC games because of my elbow at all. Oh, you know what? This is a random thing. This is a current situation thing. After what happened to Duke, I've had a new outlook on life, and I kind of almost feel like it's very cliche. But once Duke passed, and I went through my mourning phase of all that, I just had a different appreciation for life in general. Like, Duke was, as all animals are, one of my best friends, but also I lost my grandma the year before, who was also, literally one of my best friends. And they both lived extremely full lives. And you could write a book about the shit my grandma did, and maybe less so Duke. But I was just thinking, like, there's so much time to experience and feel so many things that, for example, I was feeling a lot of pressure with this episode because, I was, and like, even before this episode, I was overthinking, rethinking things. And then after we made the final call, I disconnected for a second. I was like, okay, there's so much time, Matt. That doesn't mean get complacent. There's so much time. And so I don't know if this is a weird factor piece of information, more so a product of a situation, but I've just been feeling, as a 26-year-old guy, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to do a lot of things in a short period of time. And I look at someone like my grandma who lived a very long time, and it's like, there's time. There's time, and not everything needs to be rushed. So and that's sort of where my head's been at lately. I felt a lot more positive because of it, because I'm not so high maintenance, high pressure like I have been for the last probably, I don't know, fucking 2 years. So
yeah,
I've been unwinding a little bit.
That's you're getting a little personal. I can get a little personal, I guess. One thing I can relate to that in the sense that I'm always I gotta be doing this, I gotta be doing this. I get a lot of career anxiety. I'm going into journalism, guys. This is a dying field, okay? That's something yeah.
I was just drinking. I'm going into fucking journalism, guys.
But I'm serious. I deal with a lot of anxiety. So one thing I'm always trying to make sure I'm I want to get all my ducks in a row, hit every nail on the head. But sometimes I'll sit back and I have to remind myself to just relax and say no, if someone asks me to do something, no, I can't do that. Just take time for myself. I'm not.
Yeah,
in a
you've
rush.
denied an edit or two of mine. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's my anxiety has been it rages out of control sometimes, and it prevents me from doing things, from working or whatever. So I found that it's good to just sit back and relax and let myself understand I'm in a decent position for what I'm trying to do, right?
Of course,
Cam Radio Live is a really amazing thing that you stuck your neck out a little bit to help me out, put me on the show, and people are loving me, which I love.
They are.
But I just got to remind myself that I'm doing okay.
Especially for your age. Yeah, I say it all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to, when I started this show, I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity that I wish I had when, especially your head screwed on a lot more than mine was at your age, where, this is a really good growing chance for you. And it'll come with hiccups here or there. I'm sure you'll say something on the show at one point that people will be like, oh, what the fuck's Paul doing here? And that'll suck, but literally you'll learn from it. Just like I did, just like Dustin did. When Dustin came on, he had done Handsome Phantom, but he had never done a show like Ham Radio where we had tens of thousands of listeners on some weeks. And he learned pretty quickly how you speak to an audience. And I think you've been pretty good right off the rip of what that's like, what it takes for that. That comes from studying and just learning. And so, yeah, it's I get where you're at 100%. And Kyle Marquez actually quickly asked, I hope this doesn't come off offensive, but did your grandma play any games, Maddie? Not offensive at all. She didn't, but she provided me a lot of the games that are some of my favorites growing up. So she played a pretty big part in why I love games, because it was funny. Like every Christmas, we would open my grandma's gifts later at night. And so like we'd have a second Christmas. Infamous in my group, by the way. I always get torched for opening gifts really late at night, like all the fucking time. I've been getting slandered for like 3 years now about like how late I open gifts. But with my grandma, like it was always a guarantee. I knew she was gonna get me a game. It was just like which game, and so I like narrowed down like what I got from Santa, what I got from my brother. It's like, all right, this one's missing. Like if it's here, like it's from Mimi, and she'd get it right, and she'd always nail it. And so that's how it always worked. And even as I got older, you know, in my 20s, like even last Christmas, last year, Mimi got me a game. Like, and that's amazing to think about sometimes. She got me 13 Sentinels, which is still on my shelf. Great write-in.
I just want to respond to that, right? And I know the question wasn't asked towards me, but I kind of pertains. My grandpa plays a lot of video games. In fact, this is the interesting part. Fallout 3, I never played it until I went to his house, and he had it.
That's sick.
And I got my ass kicked in the vault by rad roaches as like a little kid, so I couldn't even get out of the vault. But you know, he introduced me to like a slew of games, man. Like I played Red Dead Redemption first through him. I played Fallout 3. He's a gamer. Gamer grandpas are great. If you have a gamer grandparent, like you're doing good.
Exactly.
I think, Matt, we're gonna be gamer well, maybe if you have kids,
yeah,
like, we will be gaming elders.
Kids. Fucking annoying.
we will be gaming elders. A lot of people will. Isn't that interesting to think about?
It is. Yeah. We're gonna like lead a whole generation of kids back to like the PlayStation 2 when we're old.
yeah.
Try this thing on, man. All right, let's keep going. Vault 101 guy is our next write-in. Welcome to the Ham Fam. Kopi, last week you had mentioned that your favorite questions are the ones that are personal, and I agree. I like knowing the person behind the mic. Have you ever had an instant karma happen to someone while driving? Any crazy wrong number stories? Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. P.S. When will Colin release the video of Last Stand Media Live? Wasn't able to make it, and I'd love to see it. Well, that's available now on his Patreon. I don't know when it's going available for free. I didn't even know it was going out to patrons the day it did until Lockmore. I asked him to edit something. He's like, I'm doing this, but we'll do it afterwards. So I don't know when it's going publicly. But, Paul, while we're on the personal note, I don't know what fucking instant karma while someone's driving could happen that's not vicious and horrible, but is there anything that comes to mind for you that for either of these that you could think of?
I mean, no, it's funny. I recently started independently driving this year. I got my first car. So like, I don't really have many stories. I witnessed like one almost accident in the parking lot for my university. And it was actually during a tap-in, which is like these Snapchat video calls, like videos. Matt, you know what they are.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, but there was like a car that almost like hit like the fender of another car. Anyway, I don't have any interesting traffic stories or instant karma. Is wrong number like you called the wrong number?
Probably both. Like you received the wrong number call or you call the wrong number. I get freaked with wrong numbers, so I get
them all the time, man. I have like spam callers like crazy.
Yeah. Oh God, all the time. I hate it.
Dude, I have my my phone. I made it to where any caller I don't have like an ID for, it gets blocked. But the problem is like if I'm getting a call from a doctor's office or something, or like insurance or something, I have to like listen to all my voicemails. And then there's like obviously like spam voicemails too. So I get like student loans and this and that.
Yeah, we love those.
Oh yeah. Do you have any stories?
Personally, no. Yeah, not that I can think of. We'll move on to the next one. Arshandle writes in. Arshandle left us our only review on this, and he gave us 4 fucking stars. So, Arshandle, it's time for you to bump it up with the answer to this question. I'm calling you out, Arshandle. Hey, Ham boys, new and old. Yes, Maddie, you are old. Oh, no. Have you watched any of your videos from 8+ years ago? Yeah, that's actually kind of fair because I looked really different back then. Anyway, on to my topic, the console wars. I hate them. As someone that bought a Switch at the beginning of the pandemic and fell in love with gaming again via the amazing Breath of the Wild, I ended up using some of the US stimulus money to buy a PS5 and an Xbox Series X earlier this year. I love gaming. I love Sony's single-player narrative stories. I love Xbox's innovation with Game Pass, FPS Boost, etc. I've played a ton of amazing games that past year, catching up on a decade plus of amazing content, and I'm stoked for games that are coming. The best info I could find from 2020 was that 32.2% of PS4 owners also owned an Xbox One/X, and a staggering 47.5% of Xbox One owners also owned a PS4 or PS4 Pro. Maddie, you love Xbox and you run an amazing Xbox podcast, but you are a lover of video games and are clearly excited about the future where Sony and Microsoft are pushing each other to excellence. Why do you think, with all of this clear universal love for video games, are some people so intent on raining on other people's excitement for a specific console? Have an amazing Friday night. Thank you, R. Shandell, for writing in all seriousness. We appreciate this very thorough breakdown with statistics and a link for reference, mind you. I like this one because I've been on the receiving end of it a ton lately. I talked about this on Defining Duke, but I shared a clip of Halo Infinite, just a little vehicle damage, and I don't know if you ever looked at the replies, not that I expect you to, but like when you go in there, you'll just see it's just a ton of vitriol from both sides, by the way. A lot of it, I'll admit, was started by PlayStation fans who were like, LOL, what is this? Y'all Xbox fans get excited for anything. And then like Xbox fans would come in and try to dunk on them. And then it was just a back and forth. And it was so ridiculous. I don't know why people do. I think it's because, honestly, I don't know how to say it other than I feel like because you have spent so much money on a thing, you feel like you've got to attach your ego to it. You've got to protect that purchase. And especially for folks who don't have a lot of money. And I'm not saying, because gaming is a luxury at the end of the day. So I don't mean that with disrespect, but if you don't have a lot of money and you buy this thing, for some people that's like a pledge of allegiance. And it's like, now I've got to defend this thing. And it means a lot to them. So when they can't get the other console, like a lot of people can, where most of us who have both are like, fuck it. Like, give me whatever you got. Like, I got them both. Most people don't have that benefit. So I almost understand why they're upset and bitter and they want to defend it. But if you're like rational, you probably just don't fucking care. And that's all there is to it. I just don't know why they feel they need to, other than just to protect their purchase personally. Anything you want to add to that?
I think there's like a little bit of psychology in there too. Like people love forming groups. People love having like their patriotism for whatever. You see it in like the political climate or whatever. So I find it interesting that it's still around for like Xbox and PlayStation, especially like when you see these companies interacting with each other. And honestly, the way I look at it is that you have like these two like factions of, I want to say simple-minded because that's very mean, but like people who are like almost, usually it's probably a bunch of kids or younger people fighting with each other. And
I'd
then
be surprised how many adults are in there, by the way.
Oh, dude,
I check
well,
profiles sometimes. Holy shit.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. You have a lot of people who are just like fighting over these consoles. Most people own both. Most people would own both given the opportunity. I guarantee you, if you go up to any of these like PlayStation people that are dogging on Xbox or vice versa, and you handed them a console, they'd take it and they'd play the games and they'd enjoy. I don't know. I find it fascinating. We talked a lot about console wars, right? Last time and I kind of said most of what I felt about it. I think it's ridiculous. As someone who, I think it is a little privileged to be able to own both consoles, but that doesn't mean you have to be barking up someone's tree for wanting this or that. At the end of the day, when I was growing up, the console I would get would be the console that all my friends were on, because I would play a lot of online games.
Yeah, same.
Nowadays, it's not as much like that. I just buy what I want to play. So I have like one of each console and a PC, but I'm in a position where I can do that. Not a lot of people are.
100%. And I think we saw some chat write-ins about it, but I think people just want to ally with the thing. I think it's really driven. I think it's kind of gotten worse because of console shortages, but also just because of the political climate. Like, I think people just feel the need to pick a side. Like, you've got to be on one side or the other. And that's just polluted everything else surrounding it, including gaming, where it's like, I run an Xbox show, right? I cover a lot of Xbox stuff, but I've also given PlayStation arguably the same energy anytime they do something. Our show is headlined this week about PlayStation. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You've picked your side of the fence because you host an Xbox show. It's like, fine, I get it. Like, but in a lot of people's cases, it's not as simple as that. And it just happens a ton where it's like people just always want to group you at the end of the day, and that's how they understand things a little bit better. All right, next write-in. Natural calamity.
Hold on.
Sorry.
I just want to say, you can read the write-in. I already read it. I have to go bring my mom my keys so she can go. She has food she's got to pick up. So
go for it.
It's gonna do that real quick.
No problem. No, you're good. Natural calamity is our next write-in. Greetings, Maddie and Kopi, who is new to me, but I will grow to love. Oh, he missed that. He's not even here right now. It is I, Natural Calamity, back from the dead, from the death and rebirth of Ham Radio Live. It is good to be back and good to be here, but sadly, I doubt I'll be able to make the recording time. So I bring the question and point to think on. With Microsoft and Game Pass, now I am an Xbox fanboy. Hands up to my back. And then there was Blockbuster back when we were youngins. God, we are old. But then things like Redbox and Gamefly took out those mediums soon after GameStop, and game stores were killed by digital games. And now physical games are being pushed out by digital mediums. I want to ask, how important is saving the history of these games to you two? And is there anything we can do to evolve? Is this what happens when things continue to escalate?
Okay. You can answer first because I'm going to catch up on the question.
Yeah, by all means. So I want to ask, sorry, some of the English for this was broken up a little bit natural, so I got to reread it one more time. I want to ask how important it is saving the history of these games to you two, and is this just the way things evolve? So I think there's a way to do both. I've always been of that mindset. There will always be an audience for physical, and I think that's going to dwindle over time, and it may not be super profitable, but I don't think that, when I say super profitable, I mean like instead of selling, like you've got your sales charts, and maybe instead of it being 50-50, now it's like going to be 70-30 digital in the lead. But that doesn't mean that you just ignore the 30%. That's still a lot of copies sold if we're talking like a multi-million-dollar seller. So I think it'll still be supported for a while. I hope companies care enough to continue to do so. But give me 1 sec. Now I got to step away. You go on for the rest of the question.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think like I tried to understand the question, guys, a little bit, but I'm assuming that you're asking about like physical games and if we're going to see them go away. No, I don't think we're going to see physical games go anywhere. I do think that they're definitely going to be pushed under the rug, especially since most people don't care. Most people don't care about physicals, but I do think there's a rising population that are saying like, hey, we like our physical games. I mean, when I buy a game digitally, I cringe a little bit. I bought Demon's Souls recently, is when I got my PS5, because I didn't want to wait. I just wanted to play the game, and that convenience is really nice. People love that but unfortunately, it comes at the cost that like physical games like this. Take a look at Tales of Arise, right? This costs money for them to produce. The case, the plastic, you could argue pollution with it, the disc, the papers inside. But at the same time, I have that. That is mine. No one can come take it from me. I can't lose the license to it. If the storefront goes down for PlayStation, I can still put my copy of Tales of Arise inside my PS5 and play it. And I think that's something that's really valuable in a digital age, something we're shifting towards. So I hope that we retain physical copies. I think we will. You have companies like Limited Run, right? Like they're releasing physical games of older games that aren't really playable nowadays. So I hope that we keep them. People were saying in the chat, Raven's Talon said, physical media also doesn't last forever. That is true. There's something called disc rot. And eventually this disc will rot away and I won't be able to play it, which sucks. But I think physical media has more of a potential to last than digital because of how storefronts shut down. Granted, we could be shifting towards like a time or like maybe the PS5 storefront will stay open because it'll be so similar to the PS8 or 9 storefront that it won't matter. I don't know. I know that I think Xbox 360s is still up. But I know that the Vita one, right? There was news about the Vita storefront shutting down, right, Matt?
Yes.
And then it didn't shut down because of people complaining. Yeah, I was just going on a tangent about how I love physical games, and someone pointed out that physical games don't also last forever, which is a valid point because of disc rot.
This is true.
Yeah.
They'll find a way. To make it last.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got how many questions we got left? All right, we got
quite a few.
Yeah,
of them
we have a lot left. We can bang out these last. We'll do two more because these last two we can bang out, and then we'll save the rest for the next episode and clean those up because there's less from next episode onward. So we'll just do these next two here. AC Denton says, games that should bang. Which two games would you think merge together to make a much better or even perfect game?
Dude, there's so many like games or companies I can think of that should just like, you know, get under the sheets and make some passionate action happen. Like, I don't know. There's Pokemon and the Elder Scrolls.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Like, imagine
that's
that.
Really
or
good
just
one.
any Bethesda game in general. Like, you got the RPG systems here, but then you fill these worlds in, these amazing worlds that have great environments, great environmental storytelling with some Pokemon. And then I think you sprinkle a little bit of dark edginess in there. You know, maybe like some rabid Pokemon killing innocent people. Or you find like a cave of an Arcanine and there's bones in there.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that'd be really sad, but hey, that'd be dope.
Well,
yeah. I'm going with Mega Man and Castlevania because Mega Man is a side scroller at heart, but I wanted to try a Metroidvania style approach.
Dude, I would play Mega Man if that was the thing because I love Metroidvania.
Yeah, Metroidvanias are great. I think they're like really popular nowadays. I think Mega Man would fit that really well, given its side-scrolling roots. I mean, you got Mega Man Legends, which you can make a great 3D Mega Man game. Like, I thought Legends was excellent, but I would just love to see them go in on a Metroidvania title because I think that just is a good hybrid of the two, and I think it would make it much more loved than it is nowadays. All right, last question of the episode.
Yeah.
Here we go. Brandon Stark, hey, gents, sad to say I'll be at a concert and miss the first ever Ham Radio live show, but I'll be here next Friday. So anyway, by the way, Brandon, I didn't see you in chat, and I did not see you in the call waiting room. So I don't know what you had to do this week. I should be nice, though. We don't know what's happening.
I hope it's more important than Ham Live.
I do, too.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I hope so. He probably had like friends invite him out or something. He says, anyway, I got to start with an important question. Kopi, ice in your drinks?
No. I'm not an ice drinker guy unless you have those little like plasticky cubes that you can like freeze, like put in the freezer and put them in your drinks, because I can't handle when drinks are watered down. I can't do it, man.
Even if they're cooler at first, like you get a great first like 5 sips in, it's not worth it.
Dude, just refrigerate it. End of story. Like, soda drinkers out there. Matt is not a soda drinker. I'm still 20, so I'm hanging on to my soda for as long as I can, man. When I drink a soda, if it's watered down, I'm wasting all the sugar I'm intaking and all those calories, those empty calories, on watered down garbage. Like, if I want a soda, I want that sugary, that crisp.
Yeah,
I want to get that high when I drink it. Yeah, right. I don't want watered down garbage.
I respect that.
But as for water, yeah, put ice cubes in water, please.
Because it waters down water.
It's water. Yeah, exactly.
See, I don't know. Because here's the thing. Like I think ice cubes make your drink. How many? So you don't put any in all. Like if you were to put any in, how many are you putting in?
Dude, I'm like a 3 ice cube kind of guy.
Okay,
like,
you and I are on the same page.
What depends? It depends on what kind of cubes you got. You have the squares. You've got like the wedges. You know what I'm talking about? Like the wedge cubes.
Yeah,
like
that's if you see wedge ice cubes, you know you've walked into a weird household. Like if you've got ice cube wedges, like you just know like there's a bunch of fucking maniacs living there.
That's usually what comes from those fridges. Like the cubes don't fall from there. They got the wedges, so they can like slide down.
Yeah, you know that they don't care about their ice output. They just care about like having ice, and that's about it. It's not about like how it's presented in your cup.
There's a certain type of ice. I think it's like called popcorn ice. And it's like the little tiny round ones. And basically it doesn't take up as much volume in your, but it still keeps it cool. And I guess it doesn't melt as quick. I will have soda with popcorn ice. I don't know why.
That's fair. Yeah, the worst is crushed ice.
Well, that's sort of like what it is, I guess. But it's more like round. It's like spherical and very small.
Well, because McDonald's just disrespects you. They're like, here's your fucking cup, and it weighs like 5 pounds, and you're like, isn't this just liquid? You realize that it's like this much ice is in there that they just load you up.
I was at Wendy's, and you know how they have like the trays for your drinks, like and they like there were 2 larges and 1 small, and they handed to us in a way where the larges were both on one side and the smalls were both on one side. So like it's weighing one direction. I'm like, what are these people doing, man? Like, yeah, and they loaded up with ice, and then your shit gets watered down. And it's just like,
yeah.
no, basically, long story short, no. If you can refrigerate a drink, why would you put ice in it?
I mean, that's
especially one more thing, just another point real quick. Get one of those stainless steel cups. Your drink will stay cold. You don't got to worry about
I have
ice.
discovered that recently.
You don't have to worry about your stuff getting watered down. You just pour your drink in, twist a little thing. It's cold for a very long time.
Yeah, I rediscovered a Mafia 3 cup. I got an E3 2016. It's stainless steel, so anything I put in there, if it's cold, it stays cold. It's really nice.
So nice.
Yeah.
I had one, and then it like disappeared. Actually, my mom put a Vault Boy on it because she knows I love Fallout. It was kind of cool. But like,
was it like a Christmas gift? You got a Vault Boy cup?
Yeah, the people at my mom's work like sold them, I guess, and she was like, "Oh, you can put a design on it." So I was like, "Oh, well, I like video games. I like Fallout," and so they put the little
Merry Christmas, Paul. Here's a fucking cup.
Yeah, right. Here's your fucking mug for Christmas. Enjoy. I don't know, man. Some people are big coffee tea drinkers. Like I got my girlfriend a mug for last Christmas, the Christmas before, but it was like a mug with all her cats on it. I got like a. So I don't know.
Mugs are great. I love tea, so
yeah.
It's right up my alley.
I'm like a hot cocoa kind of guy. I don't do tea. I don't do coffee. But on a nice cold night, a hot cocoa with some marshmallows, that hits different.
I respect that. All right. Well, that's the end of Ham Radio Live episode 2. Again, I think this has been a very strong response episode, and you can expect this moving forward. This was a busy news week, so it was going to be a longer episode regardless. I know we had a write-in or two about the timing of it. Like, I don't have time for it. That's why we got timestamps. You can listen to what you want. But more than anything, this was going to be a long episode no matter what. So we appreciate the call-ins we had. We hope this structure works well for those who gave us constructive criticism. I'm acting like we really got bad feedback. Like, we really got
we
positive
really
feedback.
didn't.
Yeah, just like we heard the people strongly, rather.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is like we want to make the show as good as it can be. We want people to enjoy it. So we took the feedback we got, which was almost all of it was constructive, very kind, very nice, and like, hey, I liked what you guys did here. Here are my thoughts. Exactly. I mean, it was the first show, so
yeah, we had to jump into the deep end, figure out what it was all about. Paul, you did excellent. Yeah. I thought I did solid. So we hope you all enjoyed.
Could have been better.
I could have been a little better, just a little. We hope you all enjoyed. Thank you to the mods who kept the chat in check. To all about 200 of you who sat with us live, it's now dwindled down to about 130. Thank you so much. We appreciate you just sitting here with us, talking along as we go through this show. And we'll be back next week. As always, youtube.com/MrMattyPlays. We go live at 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can call in via patreon.com/MrMattyPlays. Sign up there, join the Discord server, and we'll talk to you. And we do call-ins at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show. So hopefully you like this format. Hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully you support it as well. We appreciate those of you who do. And with that, we'll talk with all of you in next week, episode 3. Take good care of yourselves, and peace out.